Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a great day. Guys, this is going to be a longer video. It's actually going to be a podcast type of thing, where basically me and my friend Ben here are going to be discussing the current state of Destiny with its recent season that we've all had to
Oh boy.
endure. Yeah, exactly. So guys, you're not actually going to see me physically. This is going to be sort of a podcast format, so it's going to be talking, but there is going to be gameplay in the background, as you can see now. Um, and yeah, we're just gonna sort of start from the start and dissect it as we go through, really. So I guess we should start with week one then of season of the unworthy, as people are calling it.
Oh, it's a fitting name.
It is basically a fitting name. So the season opens up with the hype around Seraph bunkers. I think the hype of the Seraph bunkers were almost treated as it being a whole new location when really
Hmm.
it's really just a bunker in the ground. I will just say sorry before I continue this video. This isn't going to be us crapping all over Destiny 2. Like, we're both fans of Destiny 2.
Oh no.
We want to see this game succeed.
And that's why
Um,
we criticize it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. This is the thing. Like, we're not crapping on it in any way to say that it's a bad game you should never play. You should definitely give Destiny 2 a go. We think it's a great game. It's just this season has had its down points, and us as fans, we're just stating our opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, we want the company to succeed. We want big things to come from this. Um, but yeah, week one, they hyped Seraph Bunkers.
And
Um,
just the Almighty in general.
and just the Almighty in general, right? So if anyone hasn't played this season, then spoiler alert, it's going to be a bit difficult to not know what's going on if you do play this game. But the Almighty is heading towards Earth. It opens up with this cutscene with Anna Bray attacking the Cabal, and then Zavada shooting one of these Scions who has shot the engine controls basically, and the Almighty is heading towards Earth. Um, this was what? How many days ago was this? Like 70 days ago? 80 days ago?
Oh,
Because the season's 99 days, right?
it's around 3 months, yeah. So we're under 20 days left, so it's been a while.
The Almighty
And
is still heading towards Earth.
yeah, and
um,
we haven't been given any idea of like the progress of its travel, like how close it is to Earth or
no.
anything. Yeah.
Which is really strange actually, because this does sort of go a bit off topic, but this is all going to line up eventually. Like that, this is all going to be a huge tree, and all of these
Hmm.
branches are all going to be linking together to the same route. So,
Yeah.
bouncing off what you just said, Ben, they've gave us no communication about where the Almighty is, how close it is to Earth, how long we've got left. But
Mm-hmm.
yet, in the actual bunkers, like the whole point of this season is because we're prepping Rasputin's weapon. We're finding out more information about him and if he's trustworthy, and getting his satellites prepared so that we can detect this incoming threat of what supposedly the season is about, which is the Almighty. Yet
Yeah.
we've had more indication about where the darkness is
Yeah.
rather than the actual thing that's literally heading towards the planet.
It's almost like marketing in games for you to buy next season.
Yeah,
Can
exactly.
you imagine if there was no like proper trailer for next season and it was like, well, you guys already know what it's about. You've seen it in the map. And like they have little quests or whatever by the end of this season, and Anna Bray is like, oh yeah, by the way, the pyramid ships are on the way. So yeah, you're gonna have to get to work on that.
Dude, I never thought of it like that, actually. That's a really good point.
I don't think they would do that, but I mean, I think it'd be funny.
That would be pretty, yeah, this entire season is actually just one huge marketing campaign for the next
Or
fall
just for
expansion.
September. So like next season as well is just marketing for September, and then
That is
September comes out
insane.
and they just released the game.
The
It's
reason
like,
why
well, you
I'm
guys,
genuinely shocked about you stating that is because we've had such little content in this season that
yeah.
it almost feels fitting that they would use this season as a catalyst for us to become more aware of the darkness's presence.
I mean, people have already predicted by looking at the map, roughly the date when the pyramid ships are gonna come to Earth, unless they obviously like stop along the way. So like technically, there's no need for a release date of like on a trailer or anything. I mean, we already know the release date, really.
Yeah, technically, yeah. Wow, that's actually changed a little bit of my
I don't think
perspective.
they do that though. I don't
No,
think
no,
they
no,
would
no,
do that.
no, no, definitely not. But I'm just thinking about Rasputin now because the point of these satellites and the point of preparing Rasputin's weapon is to one, detect the threat, and two,
Yeah.
annihilate the threat, right? It
Yeah.
hasn't picked up the Almighty on the map, so does it see the Almighty as a threat?
That's you know, that actually is a really good point, and I think it would really help the general narrative of this season if they kind of did some explanation about that because yeah, the amount of it's interesting because obviously the Vanguard are they've been hyping up the Almighty and worrying about it. Anna Bray's been, I guess, worried about it. But Rasputin, I mean, yeah, he's never really said anything about this. The only time we've seen him kind of worried about anything is when he was talking to Zavala, and that was purely about the collapse, and I guess the second collapse that's coming. And so I honestly, I would not be surprised if he doesn't see, because like it kind of makes sense, because it obviously through kind of we've seen it in um the Almighty in the skybox on Earth, and also we've seen kind of glitched instances of a damaged tower. We know it's going to be a close call, but imagine if it's not like, oh, we didn't do enough for us to destroy it sooner. It's just that Rasputin just didn't care.
Hmm.
He's like somebody leaving their homework assignment to the last minute because they have better priorities going on.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
that is why I'm interested as to why it's not appearing on the map because
yeah,
maybe he just sees it. It's not a boulder that's falling off a cliff; it's a pebble
mm-hmm.
that's being thrown. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Maybe, yeah,
yeah, and
interesting.
I do think something I just kind of realized, and I think it is kind of fair play to them is that technically all of our, I mean, we have to remember all of our satellites, for Earth and just humanity in general, were destroyed by the Red Legion at the start of the game.
That's
Because,
correct. Yeah.
remember, so technically Rasputin is our only means of detecting anything.
Right.
So if he chooses not to show you something, you're just not going to see it. There's no other way of
That's
really
very true.
finding out.
And
Yeah.
that leads on to something that I want to talk about later on in this podcast, so I'll keep a note of that. But so essentially, guys, we opened up with Seraph bunkers. Um,
Mm,
we were instantly made aware of there were going to be three bunkers because of data leaks and things that we found
yeah.
on the internet.
Yeah.
Um, but the first bunkers that opened up was on the European Dead Zone, and that was quite literally a bounty fest. Um,
Yeah.
Two major things came into play with the start of Season of the Worthy, which was one, the Seraph bunkers, and two, the Seraph towers.
Hmm.
That's the only piece of content we got for that first opening week of Season of the Worthy.
Yeah, and
Um,
the grind was pretty bad because I remember when I was leveling up the bunkers, as each bunker came out, the perks you would unlock kind of helped to make the grind a lot easier.
right.
But if you were trying just to do the one bunker and there was only one bunker, I can't imagine how much harder that would have been.
No, exactly. And obviously, what you need to
Yeah,
remember as well is during the start of this entire season, not many people were like level 1000, and the
exactly.
legendary
Until the
lost
legend.
sector
Yeah, I was literally thinking that. Yeah.
forces you to get that light level, so it forces you into, okay, I need to grind for this then. In order to complete and continue, I need to put in the grind to get that 1000 light to do the advent, the advanced
Yeah.
legendary super
And then
crazy but hard mode thing.
but then later on, I guess we can touch on, was that grind really worth it?
Exactly. And again, that's something we're definitely going to come into.
Yeah.
So yeah, already the opening week, complete grind fest with basically just bounties. You wouldn't necessarily go into a Seraph Tower public event if you didn't have Seraph Bunker bounties in order to progress and upgrade, right?
Hmm.
That was one week. The next following week, there's no update. It's the same thing with the EDZ. So that stretches over 2 weeks. So that's a complete 2 weeks of just bounties and grinding.
And
The,
and keep in mind, all this time there's no update on how close or how much closer the Almighty is.
Correct, exactly,
We're
100%.
just kind of left in the dark.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly right. And And then we go into the third week, right? Third week, Moon Bunker opens up. Exact same thing again. Upgrade the bunker to all three of
Yeah.
its tiers. And
They
we
did.
all
You could also do the public event on the moon as well.
correct. So you get the public event on the moon, you get the Seraph bunker on the moon. But if you think about it, it is essentially just a copy and paste of what we've already had.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think after the first 2 weeks of doing the bunker upgrades on the EDZ and realizing how much of a grind it is just because of how expensive the upgrades actually were, even with the ability to decrease the
Yeah.
value of how much they cost, it's the moon bunker opens up and you think, oh god, I got to do this all over again. It's
Yeah.
this again. Like that's the feeling I got. Like I don't know how you felt, maybe.
Like just, and I remember when I was doing it, it's like, when you start off doing the actual bunker, the first thing you do is you don't unlock any of the cool perks. You don't unlock anything like that. You spend all the time grinding just so you can unlock the perks that make it cheaper.
Right.
You're not like you're already off to a bad start,
Mm.
realistically, like, because imagine you have to go through 3 tiers of just making it cheaper, and then you can start getting the other stuff,
Exactly. And
which that other
obviously,
stuff makes the grind easier. So it's like you
correct.
have to do the grind at its hardest state as long as possible.
Yeah, and then just when you've basically got everything and there's nothing else for you to upgrade or nothing else for you to do,
New
that's actually
bunker.
when it becomes easier.
Yeah, and then there's a new bunker, so you have to start all over.
Right. Exactly, because that we had the moon bunker for an extra 2 weeks. We've now gone into the fourth week of Season of the Worthy. Heading into the fifth week, the Seraph bunker opens up on IO. So again, it's the public event on IO. It's the Seraph bunker on IO. And I remember actually going to the Seraph bunker and that sort of area for the first time when they announced that that IO was open, and it was dead. No one was doing the public event. I didn't see any
Hmm.
sparrows racing down into the bunker.
They're probably
Um,
too busy getting the Earth and Moon one done.
yeah, no, 100%. My cousin was actually still on Earth, still grinding to get his second tier on the
Oh,
EDZ bunker when IO came out. And I said to him, "Look, dude, I know you've got work, I know you've got other commitments, but I hate to bring it to you, man. The second you're done with the EDZ, even though you're on tier 2, you've got to do the exact same thing again on the moon, and you've got to do the exact same thing again on IO.
oh,
This is now 6 weeks because each bunker takes two
yeah.
weeks. They spanned it over the course of 2 weeks. So we've had 6 weeks
But
of
in
the
all fairness,
exact
though,
same
IO
content.
was a little different. It was a little different. You got a little cinematic, or not, it wasn't even a cinematic. You got a little in-game cutscene when you walked in, and then that's when the map became a thing.
Exactly. So IO is the main one. The reason why I want to focus on IO a little bit more is because IO is in fact the only bunker out of all three that actually has more of a relevance.
Yeah.
Because that's when things started to become more apparent. The only thing that's a little bit confusing is how it makes things more apparent in a way that doesn't actually relate to this season at all,
It
and that's going back
diminishes
to
this season.
100%. It actually
It's like
takes your attention
everybody
away
wants
from it.
to, exactly. It's almost like the game wants to get this season over and done with because it knows that there's better stuff to come.
Exactly. It's teasing the future content rather than keeping me hyped to play what we currently have.
Yeah.
So that I think is it's a missed opportunity in the way of
Yeah.
I'm at the point now where I genuinely don't care about the Almighty. It's not been on my mind. I'm not concerned about it. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
And for the majority of this season, I've genuinely just forgot that it's there.
It actually, do you know, and this is a little sidetrack, but it is still relevant. They kind of, because, what we were saying about potentially Rasputin maybe not caring about it, or, him having other motivations, they kind of did something like this with Forsaken. Because I remember when they announced Forsaken, obviously, Cade's death was at the forefront, but it was mainly, there's been a prison break, Cade has died, you have to hunt them down. And I remember I heard about it, and I was just kind of like, obviously, yeah, I want to avenge Cade, but it just doesn't sound fun, like these Baron dudes or whatever. But they really it really it changed from being just a simple revenge story into being a continuation of the Taken King story. And then, people didn't know that the Dreaming City was really going to be a thing. They didn't know about Riven. They
No.
didn't know about, and then once they thought that was done when the raid was done, the whole thing with the curse and Savathun's daughter
Right.
being there, and so we really were baited into thinking it was a much simpler story, but then there being a more complex thing. And so yeah, like it would have made sense for them to do that because they clearly have experience doing that.
No, and I think, and this is something you may or may not agree with, but going by
Hmm.
my experience with this game and touching upon sort of what you just brought up, the game is very good at telling a story through its narrative in terms of text and grimoire
Yeah,
and
but
lore
doing
books.
the actual missions
During
and the
the actual
dialogue.
missions, that's where it drops off. It's almost like it's
Yeah.
two separate teams, which I'm sure it probably is. Um, but the story campaign and what we experience and actually see, visualize, and play for ourselves doesn't always reflect or even touch upon what we read, which is actually genuinely good stuff. The lore
Hmm.
is fantastic. It's
Here's a
huge.
question about that. Um, I mean, obviously, and I think maybe you'll be touching on this later, but the whole crunch going on with Bungie trying to make content. Um, I wonder if it's kind of a trait because I don't know how you feel, but I actually thought Destiny 2's vanilla campaign was really well done. The missions were really good. The cinematics were really well done, and it was a coherent story that was fleshed out, and it wasn't kind of they didn't really kind of it wasn't there wasn't any cheap kind of effort put into it. They really did. But then what you had then was a complete lack of an end game. And I'm wondering if that's the kind of trade-off that we have to kind of deal with. Do we want kind of these short, not so good in-game missions? Because I mean, there are players that play this game that have no idea the story that's going on. They just play the story missions and then that's all they know.
Hmm.
So do we want to just settle with that and then have, a better end game? Or do we want the better story missions that kind of flesh things out with less end game? It's really hard to make the balance with that.
I mean, I totally see that
Yeah.
point 100%. The only thing I can really bounce from on that is a lot of the endgame stuff that Destiny has been with the experience of Destiny 2 is basically weapons. Endgame content would be
Hmm.
the next weapon you could get, the next line of missions I can do to get the next
Because
best
they've kind
exotic
of they've
weapon.
kind of it's sad. It's sad, but it makes sense because with the ornament system that they've brought in,
Hmm.
they've kind of taken armor out of the equation. Like
Oh, yeah.
it's there's no each individual armor, like like the Dreaming City armor compared to the Crucible armor, it
Hmm.
doesn't really have any value because you can take any piece of armor and change the ornament. It's just the stats. You can get the stats from any type of,
Oh,
chest piece.
100%. The
So
armors
yeah,
are it's just numbers.
so it's really just weapons. Yeah.
It is, and yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's what I think would be the answer to the question you said. So, would you rather the end game content be where the story is, or would you rather the story be fleshed out through the main campaign? And obviously, I think personally the story should be fleshed out throughout the entire campaign because that leads off into many factors. One, it means the campaign can actually be longer than 5 missions, which is the length of Warmind. Um,
Yeah.
Two, it means that players get to visualize, play, and experience and embrace something that I would actually class as being one of the most phenomenal stories in gaming history when you actually think of how huge the lore is when it comes to Destiny.
Yeah.
Um, and two, it doesn't take away from the end game content of what we've got now, which is literally just guns, well, missions to get guns.
Yeah. I mean, like
They're
people
not
I
exactly
think
fleshing
I
out the
think
story now.
I think if you asked me what is the end game, I would say Revoker, Recluse, Not Forgotten, Mountaintop.
Exactly. That is the end game, and none of that is lore. None of that is any.
It's not real lore. It's kind of on the side lore. Yeah.
It is. It's side stuff that you'll read and you'll think, "Oh, that's cool. That's interesting," but
Yeah.
then it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's not interesting. It's definitely interesting, and I highly recommend that people do read and and take in that information. But here's the thing: we're talking about a free-to-play game. People aren't going to sit down and read. People are going to pick up their
No.
weapons and pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Which why personally I feel like it makes more sense for them to flesh out the story throughout a longer, broader campaign rather than just throw everything into the end game, because the current state that we've got now, the end game doesn't have any story. Which I guess sort of takes us back to the
Yeah.
season that we're in right now, where the
But then,
story
yeah,
has
because
basically been,
you kind of
yeah,
have to have an end game. But
right.
I think man, like I it's kind of hard to think of what is the ideal end game when you look at Destiny 2. And while we talk, I'm probably gonna have to just think about it, and I probably should have thought about it sooner. But I
Mm,
do think a lot of the answers that maybe we're looking for, they could very well just exist in Destiny 1. Because I mean, like, one of my friends, Alex, he always asks me, like every now and again, right, throughout the years, he'll ask me, Destiny 2 right now, is it as good as Destiny 1 Year 3? And I think in some cases Destiny 2 has, gone better, but I do think in a lot of other cases Destiny 1 is still better.
mm.
And yeah, I'm
The
wondering
Vault of
if
Glass.
there is a kind of balance that they can maybe strike if they look back at Destiny 1. But it's really hard because, like, again, it's not just which one do you value more, because everyone has different values. There are people that don't care about the story, that only care about the end game, and then there are people that play it mainly for the story and really appreciate the story.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
And then
statistically, you
yeah,
would say that PvE players would appreciate the story more than PvP,
of course,
but
yeah.
that isn't to say that there isn't any PvP players that would
But then
appreciate the story.
I think maybe we'll talk about this later as well. Now that the game is free to play, should our expectations be lowered potentially?
It's a very good question. That is a very good question. And by the way, guys, if you're still with us, feel free to let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section
Yeah,
below, because I'm definitely interested to see what you
I don't think
think.
we've said anything too controversial so far. I'm pretty sure most of our opinions do match up with the general community.
Yeah, no, definitely, because these are all things that I've seen online,
Yeah.
as well, and going by sort of our experience, because we play a lot of this game. It's not just us following the crowd. This is something that we personally feel because we experience the game basically on a daily basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we want the game to succeed. We want the company to succeed. We want them, because this goes a little bit more beyond than just money. I want to see a good quality game, and if that means that the company needs more money, then sure. But at the same time, and we were talking about this earlier,
Mm-hmm.
do we really value the content that we've got now based on the price of the season compared to what we've had previously, or do
And
we
also,
lower that?
do we value the I guess the efficiency and the level of, just quality from the company as opposed
Right.
to, years past? Because I think, I mean, they could start making amazing content, but still, okay, like imagine, right? They make this September, they make the best expansion ever, and then the sunsetting is terrible, and then like all the universal ornaments you have to pay for with silver,
Mm,
and they
they've already
nerf
said that.
like all the perks. It's like they remove Rampage from the game or some crap like that, and it's like, yeah, I think in reality, I mean, the game has to improve, but I think also Bungie has to improve, and
Oh yeah, no, learn and adapt. Definitely. The thing is I guess one thing that I sort of picked up on what you said earlier when you said that Alex asks you, in Destiny 2's current state
mm,
right now, would you say it's
yeah,
better than Destiny 1? The thing is the
year
game
3
has
specifically.
to, yeah. The game has to, it has to change with what the current trend is. So you might have seen this in many other games, because I definitely have, but a lot of games now have invented or came up with, or implemented, I should say, is a better word to use,
The battle pass thing.
the battle pass. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, we all know about the battle pass. People who play Fortnite or Call of Duty or Destiny 2, they've all got now this battle pass system where
Mm-hmm.
the paid subscription, you get something every day. Usually, the first item is something really amazing to entice you to pay the price. Or you go for the top tree, which is free of charge, where you gradually get little bits and pieces here and there. You don't usually get
Yeah.
the good stuff until the end.
But do you know what's different? And I think, especially now that Destiny's free to play, I think you can make this comparison a lot better now. With Fortnite, the reason why it succeeded so well, in my opinion,
Hmm.
because I have bought a Fortnite Battle Pass before,
Hmm.
and normally that's just not something I would do. I think one of the reasons Fortnite's Battle Pass succeeded so well, and I think a lot of other games just haven't done this, it's not just, the kind of leading along the horse with the stick, or the carrot, I should say. You
Yeah.
see the next reward for the next level. For me, it's Fortnite's success in the Battle Pass system was that, yeah, you spend your however many V-Bucks, yeah, but if you stay committed to the game and you stay playing and you keep leveling up that battle pass, you don't even have to level it up to level 100. You will be able to get the next battle pass for free based on the progress you've made,
Right.
which means technically, and it's a free to play game, but technically you only have to buy the battle pass once. And as long as you stay committed and as long as you play the game, because that's actually, Destiny's, they've been talking about fear of missing out. Well, it's fear of missing out on content that's not really the best. With Fortnite, it was fear of missing out on, like a free battle pass. And I
It
think,
gives you a reason to continue, doesn't it?
yeah. So I think with Bungie's battle pass system, is it really rewarding? Because like I know for like example, I don't know how many there are, but like there are several exotic engrams. I have pretty much every single exotic I'd want, apart from some quest ones. Those exotic engrams have absolutely no value to me. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
it's
The
not
amount of
light level
exotic
doesn't
engrams I
really
have in.
matter. The light level maybe associated with them doesn't really matter either, considering prime engrams are a thing. Like
Hmm.
imagine instead of an exotic engram, it was silver, and then if you got to level 100, you
That's a
had enough
really good
silver,
idea, actually.
even if it was a 50% discount for
Hmm.
the next season.
That's
But
one good thing, actually. They don't reward, like, silver either comes from your wallet or that's it.
that's it.
You know?
Yeah, yeah,
And I think, I'm not particularly a fan of Fortnite, but to me that's a really good business model with the whole you get the next pass for free if you
yeah.
stay committed sort of thing. It keeps you playing, it keeps you in the game. Um, and at the end of the day, that's mainly what game developers want. They want you in their game. They want you spending time in their, in their world that they've created for you. But unfortunately, for Destiny 2 and for Bungie, I've just spent 6 weeks doing the exact same thing over and over and
Yeah.
over.
And they
That
can't really like I don't know if they could afford to make it so that you could earn the next season for free.
oh no,
I don't know
not
if
at
they could
all.
afford to do that. Yeah.
I don't think so either. And
Because
I've
obviously they release like, Fortnite, all they have to do is release skins and then maybe a map like once a year.
yeah.
I guess that is the kind of trade off there.
So that's the thing. So we're 6 weeks into the season. We've done the same thing over and over and over. People are bored at this point. We're starting to see
Yeah.
people get angry on Twitter. We're starting to
Especially with
see
trials.
people.
I think
Oh,
we actually we completely forgot about trials, man.
dude, that's such a good point that you've
But
just brought up.
trials came out, was it last season? No.
I can't remember, but I know, and I know you know that Trials was very explosive and in quite a negative way actually. The hype for Trials was phenomenal and people were so excited to hear that it was
Mm-hmm.
coming back, but when
Mm-hmm.
it actually went live,
Yeah.
oh my god, that was like setting off a bomb inside
Season of
your
the
own
half
house.
baked. That was it. Season of the half baked.
Ooh, that gave me goosebumps because I completely forgot
Yeah.
about Trials, and that actually adds to this whole thing because as much as I can't remember whether it was this season or last season,
Do you
it
know what?
still plays a
It
heavy
could have been
impact.
this season, but it just really matter. Doesn't
No, 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 you're right. No, wait, no, no, no.
No, it was this
I
season. It
can't
was
remember.
100% this season. It was this
It
season.
was.
It was 100% this season. Yeah, because I remember in the first week we were all complaining about people were over 1,000 night, and they said that they were going
Oh,
to change the artifact, and they did later on. Yeah, I remember.
but
It was this season.
that didn't necessarily fix the problem that is trials, you know.
Yeah,
But
it fixed a
yes,
different problem,
yeah, it did. It did.
much
It
smaller problem, I'd say.
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
god, dude, that
you know
changes a
what?
lot for
I
me.
think I think. Well, this is it's your podcast, so we do whatever. But maybe here's this. How about we just do like PVE now, and then we'll do the state of PvP later, and we can just lump in Iron
Yeah,
Banner and Trials into
definitely.
that.
I agree
Because
with
like
that because PvP is
I
a
think
whole
yeah,
separate kettle of fish, you know.
it really is.
So, okay, wow, you state such a good point there. This is, by the way, guys, this is why I brought Ben along, and I'll link his channel in the description below. Definitely go and check him out. Because Ben follows the story of Destiny so brilliantly that you can talk to this guy for absolute hours and
I love
find
it.
out things that you never
Yeah,
even knew was a thing.
yeah. I just really love it. Yeah,
But you know, this is the thing, and this is why I get angry when, or I guess emotional, I should say, not crying emotional, but really sort of at up when we get content like this, because you get amazing people like Ben who follow the story so well and so brilliantly and so precisely to the point where it's enjoyable to just listen to, almost like it's an audiobook. And then we
yeah,
get content like this, and it's like, did you guys even care about the game anymore? You know, you've got people so passionate about the story, and you give us 6 weeks of the same
yeah.
thing.
I think that's really what it's the passion, and I think actually, do you want to talk about the lie quest?
Dude,
Because
that's what I'm jumping into
yeah,
now. Yeah,
okay, yeah. Oh man, so um, I think I think there's something that sets that really hit different about this quest, and I'm gonna go into a little bit of a lore mode now. But so when you introduce anything to do with the Iron Lords, you have to treat it differently compared to any other story quest. And I'd say for some of you that are listening, you might ask, well, why? It's because there's a completely different environment and history surrounding how Iron Banner and the Iron Lords specifically have been treated by the game and by Bungie. Um, so I'm gonna take us back to Destiny 1 Year 1 when Iron Banner was first released. So obviously it was a PvP mode that was immediately set apart because of the fact that your light level mattered. But people grinded it religiously, myself included, from the day it came to the day it went. And that's because for the first year anyway, definitely back in vanilla, Iron Banner, people may forget, Iron Banner was one of the ways you could get to level 30. I'm fairly certain that to get to level 30, weapons were different to armor. I remember, so it didn't really it was mainly your armor that your light level or whatever was based on. But I remember there was three ways you could get to level 30. It was Vault of Glass armor, exotics would drop, and once you maxed out an exotic, because obviously you had to upgrade the defenses, that would get you to level 30, and then also Iron Banner armor. And so you would go to this guy, Lord Saladin, who looked really cool, by the way. The armor would look really cool, and the weapons and the weapons would be named after these different figures, and there was just a certain air of mystery around this guy and around the people that he referenced, and we all assumed they were dead, but we never knew how they died. And when Rise of Iron eventually came out and we learned about them, it really did respect that kind of mysterious nature, because it's about a time that's before ours. Because as a guardian, we have been born technically into a world that's still going on. We're not the center of everything really. We're just kind of as everything's going along. But the Iron Lords, they were from a time far before us, back in the Dark Ages, and they were heroes of their own right. And Rise of Iron really did pay respect to that, I believe. And so we didn't know too much about them. We still don't. Um, but obviously we knew about Lord Saladin. because he was there in person. In Rise of Iron, we were introduced to Lady Ephrodite, and we learned a bit about her. But apart from those two, the only other Iron Lord who we really had any major interest in or any real information about was Felwinter. Now, those of you who have played D1 and those of you who are playing the game now, unfortunately, are well acquainted with the pain in the butt that is Felwinter's Lie, which is the legendary sniper rifle that has been introduced into this game. And um, in the Grim, I don't think it was in the Grimoire. I do believe it was later on. We began to learn more about Felwinter, and there was a shift in us learning more about Felwinter than other Iron Lords. And it's because, like I said, the Iron Lords have a certain sense of mystery around them, but Felwinter, he took that to a completely different level. I'm pretty sure he's the only character in the lore who's used an ability from a different class. I believe he was fighting. I can't pronounce. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's Citan, Chitin. I can't remember. He was fighting the warlord, this warlord, and he's a warlock, Felwinter, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure he used a Titan shoulder charge in the middle of it. So just stuff like that. We've never seen any other character do that. And later on, there's a scene where he's walking with another Iron Lord named Timer. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. And he's asking, what does the name Seraph mean to you? And for people that are big into the lore in Destiny 1, that name Seraph, because I think they've really butchered this, because Destiny 1, there was a big massive community that was all about the original Destiny 1 before they scrapped it, because there's a lot of story stuff that has survived. And I do believe a lot of this lore that we have here, the world building, is from before Destiny 1 was kind of remade. But what part of this is with the Seraphs, because there was a whole faction called the Seven Seraphs.
Right.
Even in the trailer for Destiny 2 on PC, there was a guy, and in the background, there was a poster with the faction symbol for the Seven Seraphs.
Mm-hmm.
So just in having this one mysterious character who's more mysterious than the other mysterious characters being involved in an even more mysterious topic, that put Felwinter above everything else. And so that's why I've had this whole story just to explain. This is why Felwinter is somebody that you have to treat differently. And so with this season, it was really lackluster, but especially from a story standpoint. With the Almighty
Right.
as a story thing, it was very lackluster. And even with the pyramid ships on the map, even though that's interesting, that's foreshadowing. That's not going on right now.
That's not current.
What we had this season was one quest, which was the Lie, which was about Felwinter. And it was data mined. It was data mined, and it was supposed to be really different because we had data mined, and we knew that we were going to get Felwinter's Lie, and it was going to be absolutely broken. But I mean, from the data mining, it was looking like there was the potentiality of him being resurrected, there being a potential boss fight. And actually, sorry, I just want to mention again, the Iron Lords being in this game, this isn't the first time. I mean, if you go to certain parts of the Dreaming City, I think it's in one of the lost sectors, maybe. I can't remember what it's called. It's the one something rest. I don't want to say it's a Felion, but I can't remember. But if you go into one of the lost sectors and in a different area of the Dreaming City, if you look down, you can actually see in a puddle a reflection of the Iron Temple. So, like, this game has had a history of the Iron Lords. And so now we have this quest about Felwinter. There's people glitching into the Iron Temple.
Aphelion's Rest.
Yeah. There are people glitching into the Iron Temple. We're getting his shotgun back. There's been a 3D model of him been revealed. Somebody data mined that. There was also the potentiality of him being in the season trailer. So this quest was a big deal, especially when it's the only story quest this season. I mean, like, it's not me, but I'm sure there are some people that maybe spend the money on these seasons for the story associated with it. This is the one thing they get. And so what we got was a bugged quest that actually half of the quest had nothing to do with the story. So this story is about Felwinter, and the first thing we're told to do is Rasputin wants to know more about you, so do 9 million public events. Don't ask why, he just wants you to do it.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
There's all of that, and that's irrelevant to the story.
I don't mean to cut you off, but that already is a huge problem because that already the reception that that first quest got was so negative that Bungie in the end had to get involved and say, all right, you know what? Not only have we lowered the
Yeah.
light level of the champions to make them easier for you to kill, but we've also lowered the requirements to actually complete the first
Uh-huh.
step because people were just refusing to do it because they put their hands up and they've gone, you know what? No, I've had enough.
Yeah.
There's no way you're getting me to do that.
Even then, there were plenty of people that rejoiced when Bungie did this because they were like, no, this is proof that they are listening. And I didn't. I mean, I did one public event, I'm pretty sure, and I just let everybody else do it. I wasn't going to do that. But I mean, I was only interested in the story quest. And already, first step had nothing to do with this, pretty much. The second step had us go to Vostok. Now, my immediate, hope was, are we going to go into the Iron Temple? I mean, it's
Right.
literally right there.
I agree
But
with
instead,
your thing there.
we scanned 3 pieces of literal junk. Like, it's literal scrap metal, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Anna Bray finding stuff out about Rasputin and the Iron Lords that we already knew. I mean, okay, fair enough. Maybe we didn't know that he was bait, the whole thing
Right.
with Siva. But it wasn't what we really wanted. I mean, we didn't learn anything more about Felwinter or the Iron Lords that we didn't know already. Then the final mission is bugged for 3 days, which is another Bungie thing, but it's not relevant to the story, so I'll skip that for now. We finally go in. We get 3 or 4 holograms. And Anna Bray talking to us with this weird analogy of the tyrant and his son. Fair enough, cool. Which, by the way, if you weren't somebody who was aware of the lore and you didn't know, like for me, like I understood what he meant by this, like hunting down Felwinter and all this because they had been teasing this. If you weren't into that, you would have had no idea. And then the big doors at the back of the room open up, and I'm like, this is it. This is it. We're gonna find a coffin. He's gonna be in there. I go into the room. The coffin opens up, and there's no body. It's a hologram holding a shotgun.
Yeah.
I'm given the shotgun, but there's still that really big mysterious object at the back of the room. And like, what is that then? Is it Siva? Is it, Rasputin? And I think the reason why I'm saying all this is some people might not care about that at all. But for people that care about the story, this was extremely disrespectful because literally after you're given the shotgun, if you get kills with the shotguns, you unlock a lore book. And the lore book's amazing. I haven't finished it yet, but it's amazing. And it's about Felwinter's life on the run. They couldn't be bothered to put any dialogue about that, even dialogue about that story in a mission. It's the story we needed but didn't get. And so it's like, yeah, for those of you who were interested in the story, you have to do these crappy missions, and then you get to unlock a lore book that has the story you're actually interested in. And I was talking to Brad about this. This mission was basically the equivalent to last season's Corridors of Time and Bastion. Now, I didn't do last season, and I really regret it, but just already, last season was so much better in a narrative standpoint. It was about going back in time and saving Saint 14, something we had known about potentially doing as far back as Curse of Osiris for an exotic, not a legendary, an exotic. And I mean, you might not care about you might not care about the seasons or the game from a story point of view, but from a monetary point of view, apart from the foreshadowing and kind of low-key marketing for next season, that bugged quest was the only story. And the reward you get is a shotgun that breaks the meta.
Exactly.
And I'm just, man, it was what you said. Like, it's really sad because like there are people like us that really love the story, and because there are people that don't care about it, and that's fair enough for them. I think, unfortunately, the way this game is going, it seems like they really just can give us these short missions that don't really appreciate the greater lore at all. So
No, it's annoying. It's almost like they've said, okay, let's give them this little piece of cake, but the whole
yeah,
entire thing is in this
yeah.
book.
I remember I was watching I was watching Acid Cross's one of his videos. Actually, it was the one about Fellinger's Eye, and he was talking very briefly at the start about the mission, and he was like, "Yeah, I learned a lot. I learned a lot." And he was saying, "Yeah, I didn't." And you know what? I'm happy for him. No, genuine. I'm really happy for him because he didn't know about a lot of the stuff, and now he knows. And so for him, he's gained something from that story.
Hmm.
Tashed, I was watching his stream. This kind of rubbed me the wrong way because, and no offense to Tashed at all, but me and him have different opinions of the shotgun and of the quest. But he was like reading out the lore book like out loud to his stream,
Hmm.
and it just really bothered me because it's like you have this great story and you're reading out loud, and most people are never going to have access to storytelling that good in game.
Hmm.
It's sad. But anyway, that's my
See,
rant
one
about the
one
story
thing
of the
that
season. Though.
one thing that I just wanted to sort of bounce off of what you just said there as well is you mentioned how the guy you watched, I can't remember his name, sorry.
As Cross,
Yeah, that's the one. He gained a lot from that quest because he's learned information that he never knew before, which is great.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
fantastic. And you know what? Great for the guy, definitely. But here's the thing. If that quest never had happened and he
yeah,
wanted he had the information's there anyway.
yeah.
It's not like it's that
Uh
quest or nothing.
huh.
He could have had that information without that quest even being a thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
as much as it's something new for him, it's not new in general because that information is obtainable without that quest. So that just seems a little
Mm-hmm.
bit lackluster to me. So yeah, not to mention you weren't even able to experience that
I
for the
remember.
first 3 days of it being announced.
I can't remember. I think it was. Do you know? There's a guy called Skillup on YouTube, and he does really good game reviews. And I remember. I don't think he plays Destiny anymore, unfortunately. I think Destiny 2 kind of burned him, but he made a video that covered. It was basically a review of Destiny after its 3 years.
Hmm.
And I remember watching him, and he was talking about Destiny 1 Vanilla and its release and the story. And you're saying the story was this bare bones, really just lackluster, um, just thing. And but he was, and in the item descriptions, it was very, there were hints at a much greater world, and it seemed that Destiny had taken great inspiration from Dark Souls, which I actually only realized when I watched that. In a way, it is similar, like that a lot of the greater story is in item descriptions and in
Hmm.
kind of lore tabs and stuff like that.
Right.
Um, but at the same time, Dark Souls doesn't have a real story, like, campaign,
Hmm.
and yet Destiny does. And I think, man, even like, see, but like, because you can't say Bungie doesn't care about that because like they literally are releasing actual lore books, like physical lore books that have been like these stories have been painstakingly traced and taken and collected. They do care about it, but when it comes time to putting it in the game, it just doesn't happen. Yeah,
It doesn't exist.
no, it doesn't exist, and I think it would add more value to the game because like yeah, what you were saying, that guy knowing something new to him that added value to the quest.
Yeah.
And when you learn something new from any quest, it does add value to it. You might think that's kind of, oh, well, obviously. But I mean, imagine playing a story mission for the first time
Hmm.
and knowing everything everyone else is talking about, but everyone else is acting as if they've heard it for the first time. And they're all
Right.
shocked, but you're not at all.
Yeah.
That automatically takes a lot of value out of it.
Oh no,
And I
it
think
does.
this season, unless there's something else going on, they have disrespected. I feel disrespected. I feel let down. And honestly, I if this is really it with Fellwinter and the Iron Lords, I don't want them to do anything else with it because they've already kind of stained it enough, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
exactly. And you are right when you said it's disrespectful because, and I actually said this to you a couple of days ago. Yeah, you've got a strong shotgun, and yeah, it does change the meta.
And the description of the shotgun as well. Actually, I completely forgot. The description of the
Oh
shotgun was a
yeah, you're
slap
right.
in the face. It was a slap in the face.
Mm,
It was like, oh, the name doesn't mean anything. I just like the sound of it or whatever it was. Now,
mm,
I don't think that that's really like I do think there is something like I think Phil Winter's Lie is an actual thing.
mm,
Maybe the gun was named it for no reason. But like when I in my raw emotional state after doing that quest, now people might think that I'm stupid for being like that, but I have my reasons. Everybody has their own way of reacting to things. In my kind of emotional state, as soon as I saw the description, my immediate flashback, I got PTSD from Star Wars Episode 8. And for people that have watched Star Wars Episode 8, I mean, it was a very controversial film. So even if you don't like Star Wars, you might know that it was controversial. But spoilers. Well, I'm actually not really spoilers, but there's an identity of certain characters. We'll just put it like that. And in the previous movie, they had been really hyped up, and it was a big mystery, and the whole community had been theorizing and wondering. And in the end, the answer was, "Oh, they're no one." Now,
hmm.
obviously, I mean, later on in Episode 9, they kind of fixed that. But I mean, no, yeah, like in Episode 8, they just said it's no one. And if you look at it the same, it is the same as what happened with Fellwinter, because you had this whole theory about him maybe coming back
Yeah.
and his story, and in the end they're like, no, he's just dead. And by the way, the shotgun, the name, it's nothing. He just thought it sounded cool.
Yeah, which is annoying because the Perfect Paradox had this whole thing, which is still to me one of the most amazing paradoxes, but at the same time lore behind a weapon we've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like Winter's Lie is just like, yeah, no, we're closing this off basically now. you know. I have my suspicions on how this season's gonna end.
Yeah.
We're at the state now where it makes me sad to say this, to be honest with you, but I don't think we're ever, I don't think we're ever going to go back onto the Almighty.
To
I
the
don't
witch.
think. What do you mean?
Okay,
Oh,
sorry, could you
oh,
repeat that?
sorry. I don't think we're ever going to be going back to the Almighty.
Uh,
Um,
I
no,
doubt
I
it.
very much doubt it. I think this season, right? I think this season is going to end with a cutscene of Rasputin shooting
Yeah,
down the Almighty,
yeah, and I
and
wouldn't be
then that's
surprised if
it.
it's an in-game cutscene because there's a lot of dialogue
Like
about.
that is it.
There's a
We're
lot of
gonna,
dialogue already leaked about that. Yeah.
yeah, dude. Honestly, that's what I personally think. That's what's gonna happen. I think we're gonna get a reset on Tuesday, like we usually do.
Mm,
The Almighty is in the sky. We see it coming
yeah.
towards us, and we're thinking, "Oh God,
Yeah.
it's close now." We're
But
gonna
like the
get
thing
that
is,
in the
right?
last week, probably.
What else is there to do? Because here's what's gonna happen, right? It's gonna appear in the skybox. Excuse me, and
Mm.
all the NPCs are gonna freak out. All the
Dude,
NPCs are gonna freak out.
it's
But it's
gonna
like,
happen
what
in
do
the
you?
last week.
I've upgraded your bunkers. I've done
Mm.
your public events. There's what so we're basically just have to sit and we've done our part. Now we just have to hope Rasputin decides to blow it up
Yeah.
whenever
So
he feels like it.
our trust is completely within something that basically no one knows about, and it's easy
Yeah.
to say. It's
And the
easy to
funny
say, yeah,
thing as
but
well is I know it's impossible, but theoretically, nobody could have played this game at all the whole season, and it still would have played out the exact same.
oh no, dude, you're absolutely right. My friend he hasn't upgraded a single Seraph bunker, right?
Yeah.
And he's not, he's not behind us. He's just as up to scratch as what we are.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like my time's been wasted. I feel like I didn't have to do any of those upgrades at all because either way, Rasputin's
Yeah.
gonna blow up the Almighty so we can continue with the next season. Um, and yeah, I honestly think what's gonna happen is because we're coming up to the last 2 weeks of the season now.
Yeah.
I think what's gonna happen is the skybox is gonna update with the Almighty in the sky because we're coming up to the end of the season. It's coming up to the end.
Yeah.
And then in the last week or at the end of the last week, so, basically the end of this season, we're going to get a cutscene of Rasputin completely destroying the Almighty.
Mm-hmm.
Parts of it crash into the tower, which is why we've been glitching into the instance of the damaged tower.
Yeah.
And then we're going to probably get some cliffhanger, which leads on to the next season of what to expect because of the pyramid ships being in the map, right?
Yeah.
But if what I'm saying is
Yeah.
true, sorry, I'll just finish off with
Yeah.
this.
No, go for it.
if what I'm saying is true, it basically means that as much as there's 2 weeks left of this season, we're done. Like, this
Yeah,
is it. We've done.
yeah,
There's nothing else for us to do.
yeah.
So yeah,
Um, and I think like we're not stupid as a player base. We're not stupid. When you
no,
strip away the story, you strip away the reasons in game for things being the way they are. This season is filler. We know it's filler. We
yeah,
know things are grindy to pad things out. We know things are time gated to pad things out. We know
yeah,
Bungie is strained. We know Bungie's having a hard time making content, but there has to be a better way of doing it because, like, I'm sorry, right? There's a difference between having a season and it's bad and you're just annoyed about it, and having a season that's bad and you know it's designed to be bad so that it could be padded out. You
mm,
know, it's like, and I think it doesn't just hurt the game, it hurts Bungie because I think people don't really blame the game, if you get me, for the
no,
way things are. I think people see problems with a game, and it's not that like the game is necessarily bad because of it. It's bad because Bungie made it that way.
mm,
And I think, you know, okay, like even with the lie, right? This season was probably close to being finished sometime during the last season.
oh, dude, that
And
doesn't
so
surprise me if that's correct.
what we know is that most likely they probably were just in a rush to finish it.
It was
And
very lazy, and you know,
and I mean, and you know
mm,
what? I have to give credit where credit's due. Sometimes bugs are hard to find, and they admitted it themselves. It was very hard for them to
mm,
reproduce that bug, and as soon as they could, they did fix it. You know that's fair.
yeah,
But
I get that.
again, going back to the original point, it's a AAA game. We've never had problems like that. And
Oh,
actually, at
never,
the same time,
never, never.
and very similar, I guess, whenever we do talk about PvP, we talk about trials. I mean, it's the same thing. People don't hate stuff like trials because of trials. They hate it because of Bungie,
Hmm.
because they put the blame on Bungie.
Dude, that you've stated such a good point there. You really have, and it in my mind, right? This is what I feel like right now. I feel like I have so much to say. I'm
Yeah,
just trying to word it, and because we've only really touched upon the first 6 weeks of this season and basically the last 2 weeks of the season. So
that's all. That's all there is.
exactly. So besides what the actual season is,
Yeah, and the
what
story,
else?
which we
What
touched on.
else did we get? Guardian
Uh,
games.
oh, don't get me
Now,
started. I
this
mean,
is where
yeah,
I want to start with Guardian games now, and I want to end with Guardian games now, purely because it's a very simple thing to explain,
yeah,
and it is exactly what you said when you said filler. This is exactly what it is, and the
yeah.
reason why I 100% agree with you saying that
It
it's
doesn't
filler,
feel natural. I think if I could
100%.
describe Guardian games in one word, it's unnatural. It doesn't fit. Like if you look at the other kind of similar events, the Dawning, um,
Mm-hmm.
oh, the Halloween one,
Yeah,
you
but
know, the
here's the
one where
thing,
they
dude.
remember
Here's
the
the
dead,
thing.
that fits.
Yeah, but dude, so all of those events, and this is gonna tie up perfectly
Yeah,
to you saying filler content. All of those previous events, what was the reward for completing those events? So straight off the bat, the Halloween event last year,
yeah,
we
that's
got
pretty
the
good.
we got the Bray Wolf auto rifle.
The Haunted Forest as well. That was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Let me tell you what we got for completing Guardian games. We got bragging rights.
You mean what one class got?
Dude, yeah, but that's the thing. If you like Pete is like let me tell you, and I just want to clear up any
Oh no, you
sort
did
of
get the exotic, I guess.
yeah, but here's the thing. This is the difference, right? When Bungie spoke about Guardian games,
Yeah,
they quite literally advertised Guardian games by saying the reward is bragging rights. They said that exact, and I'll quite happily put a clip in.
Yeah, oh, it's very cringe.
Guardian Games is a competition between the classes. It's Titans versus Hunters versus Warlocks for bragging rights for the entire year. You can sport that class item all year long, and as your way of bragging, like, yeah, Warlock class, best class.
They said the reward is bragging rights. Okay,
Yeah.
now people bring up the Heir Apparent. Okay, fair enough. The Heir Apparent was a new exotic. The Heir Apparent was introduced when Guardian Games was a thing, but you didn't have to actually. You just had to complete bounties.
Yeah.
You had to complete a triumph.
Yeah.
That's a reward that you get from a triumph. Just like how I can't remember the name of it, but there's a sparrow that you've got, which is like a taken sort of sparrow.
Yeah.
That's a reward you get from a triumph.
But I'd put,
you know?
like, it was a unique effort that is tied solely to that. Yeah.
Exactly. It is a triumph reward. It is not a reward from Guardian Games. And they quite literally quote the reward for Guardian Games being bragging rights. That is,
And
that is
even from a lore / world perspective, it doesn't make sense, because if we are in such dire threat, and I guess the whole, was it the city, potentially the whole Earth? I don't even know what the
I
destruction
know where you're
potential
going
was.
with this, but yeah, continue.
Yeah, this is going on in the moment where we need to work together the most. Why is it that we're competing against each other? Why is it that we are like
humanity is at risk? This thing could potentially destroy the last city.
When was the last time forces of humanity were competing against each other like this? I mean, like, okay, sparrow racing doesn't count because it's an individual thing. Like, when was the last time class / factions competed against each other? Now, obviously, this is a bit of an extreme, comparison.
The only
but
time
the one I remember is the faction wars.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That.
But it just doesn't.
Future Oracle, Dead Orbit, and what's the other
the
one?
Concordant.
Yeah.
And then
New
there were several
Monarchy.
others that just got wiped out from history. We don't know what they were called.
But dude, you're absolutely right. But again, again. Oh my god, this is brilliant because it ties into exactly what you just said, which is filler. I love the fact that you use that word because it's perfect. Because
now it's gone. Now it's done. It's been removed from the game. It's
like the season, because you mentioned just then, right? You mentioned how the last city is at risk. The Almighty is heading towards the Earth. We could potentially lose humanity. So many people could potentially die. Why are we competing against each other when we should be teaming up together and fighting this thing, right? So why place that there? It's almost like the season itself has forgotten the threat.
I think, or maybe I'm just thinking. I think what the goal of it was, from a gameplay perspective, was to take your mind off of the seasonal activities. Because I was just thinking, I was going to ask the question.
That didn't
what
work,
did we have to lose by not having it this season? And I think, like what we were saying, first 6 weeks. Well, it wouldn't have just been first 6 weeks. It would have been all the way up until the last 2 weeks, with nothing new until the lie. Can you imagine that if there was no? So they literally just put it there to take your mind off of it, and that's a problem. That's a big problem, because
that means there was nothing planned.
It's almost admitting that there's something wrong when you purposely put something in to take people's mind off of. So and it's the same thing with filler. When you put filler in, I look at that as you acknowledging that something's too short, or that you expect people to be dissatisfied with the length of whatever the content is. So when you're trying to take your mind off of the content you're supposed to be doing, that's almost admitting that you recognize that people are going to be bored of that.
Yeah, and that's when you have a serious problem with your structure and your business model of the season.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I do want to know as well, I think there's a chance they may actually have a return. So hopefully, if they do return that event, they add improvements to it, which I think they will. I don't think they're stupid.
The reason why I wanted to bring it up is because last time Ava Levante came back, the exotic reward that no, not the solstice. The time before that was the
solstice, yeah.
So yeah, but the time before that was we had the Arbalest scout rifle, wasn't it?
The
linear fusion. That was a reward that you got for actually participating in the event. The reason why Heir Apparent is separate from Guardian Games is because you didn't have to enter Guardian Games period in order to get Heir Apparent. It was a quest that she sold, and that is it. You
Mm-hmm.
did not have to play Guardian games at all to get Heir Apparent, which is why I'm saying it's separate. It's a triumph reward. Yeah, she was the vendor who gave it to you, but that's all the involvement that anything related to Guardian games ever had with the Heir Apparent. And then the reason why people got so mad at this is because one, we're not getting any story driven content at all, and
Yeah.
two, it's a bounty fest again. Not only have I just done 6 weeks of bounties, I'm now doing more bounties to get the Heir Apparent, and it's boring. It's repetitive.
It's actually kind of irrelevant. I'm not okay. I'm not even suggesting it. I'm just using this as a theoretical. Like I would not, if somebody like at Bungie or somebody did like an investigation, if somebody came out and they said that the heir apparent was a cut exotic from Heroic Menagerie, I would not be surprised.
Hmm.
It actually would have been a good reward for Heroic Menagerie, in all fairness, or something to do with it's like it's a cool gun and it's a cool concept and the lore
Oh
is
yeah.
interesting, but it has absolutely nothing to do with it was literally a random exotic tied to the event.
Yeah, and that's all it is. But that's all I want to touch on Guardian games.
Yeah, no,
And
there's
again,
it's not worth going into too much
no,
time into.
it's not.
No.
It was no, it wasn't. It was clearly a filler event. The reward was bragging rights, and even then, no one cared because people were just
Like,
switching over characters anyway to complete.
Why
events.
didn't they do sparrow racing?
I don't know, but it just seems like a huge missed opportunity. And again, I don't want to go too much into detail,
Yeah,
but
that would have been so good.
Oh, dude, it's so frustrating because, like, you know, with the Seraph bunkers, right? And I want to touch on these again. The Seraph bunkers was annoying because of the amount of bounties you had to do and the amount of war mine bits you had to farm in order to upgrade each tower each bunker individually, right? But the thing is people weren't done in the 2 week increments that we've got. My cousin is a really good example. By the time IO came out, he was still working on tier 2 EDZ. And this is what makes Guardian Games even more relevant, because during the time that Guardian Games was around, people were still working on these bunkers. And as much as Bungie are advertising Guardian Games as, okay, the reward is bragging rights, it's like, okay, but that still doesn't make sense because people are switching over characters so that they can farm Warmine bits.
Yeah.
So already there's a contradiction there, because it's like, okay, well, if I'm switching over characters between Titan, Hunter, and Warlock to farm Warmine bits, I'm clearly not caring about the classes that are currently in first place because I'm switching between them anyway.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And
anyway.
it didn't, and it wasn't really my last point on this, it didn't create, I don't think, the right kind of competitive spirit. Because immediately people were like, oh, Titans are cheating or it's bugged.
Yeah, exactly. And now they had to come up with their complete analytics to cover up the fact that it was rigged. It's like, you've just released an event that not only doesn't make any sense, but you're now defending yourself. Anyway, yeah.
We talk about PvP.
Yeah, now we're going to move on to PvP. So we've covered up the start, middle, and finish of this season.
Actually, sorry, there's one last thing I just want to talk really quickly. I saw a really good post in the forums. There have been no vendor refreshes at all. And not only that, but if you look at the strike play, I think it's really sad how they released the Grandmaster Nightfall and the actual strikes playlist is completely useless. Like, there is more value in just going to the planet and doing those individual strikes than doing the normal strike playlist. Even the normal nightfalls, the only reason you would do a normal nightfall, like in the nightfall, you have your 3 nightfalls each week, is just for the strike exclusive weapon. I just think like they're adding stuff to Eververse, they're adding these useless events like Guardian games, and yet the actual what's the term? The actual end game kind of repetitive playlists are really suffering.
Right.
And yeah, I just think from a PvE, because like we're done with PvE now, I just think from a PvE standpoint, you're doing things like public events and grinding bounties, when in reality, back in the day, we used to be doing strikes, man. Back in D1, strikes used to have way more value. Nightfalls used to have way more value. Like, even
like it was
Grandmaster
I remember the
really
D1 days, my dude. I remember the D1 days, like, Nightfalls in D2, it's almost like, oh yeah, but why would I do that?
Like,
In D1,
yeah.
Nightfalls was something you get your buddies together. You're prepping before you go
Yeah.
into this thing, you know?
Like, I'd rather, like, for the rewards that I get from the Grandmaster Nightfall. Now, maybe some of you disagree with me, but this is just me. I would rather do Pit of Heresy 3 times, get 3 fully mastery pieces of gear, and dismantle them for the materials, than sweat my butt off for a Grandmaster Nightfall.
No, I actually agree with that.
So
statement.
that's just all I want to say. I just think the kind of repetitive playlist kind of activities, and also the vendors. The vendors are dead. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's dumb. The only thing really I'm going to finish off with PVE, and this is definitely my last point. Yes, we got the 4th Horseman exotic. But no one uses that gun. It's as if it's not even in the game.
It was a neat quest. I know what, I honestly forgot about it. I haven't finished it, but I appreciate the quest for being a thing. At least it was a thing. You know.
I mean, it's cool. We got to see Zavala's office. It's a new location in the tower. That was cool. And what else did we get? I'm trying to think. It was the 4 Horsemen. I think that was genuinely it. Yeah, I don't know if you've got anything else to say on that.
No, that's pretty much me done. I mean, like, I think we could go into a huge rant about like the value of exotics not being a thing, but that doesn't really need to be put into this. This is that's a Destiny problem, not as much as
exactly.
seasonal.
So to transition into PvP.
Oh boy. Well, actually, to start off, I think there's context. I think there is context that really does need to be presented before, and that is the guys. I think that the Crucible Sandbox team isn't the same as it used to be.
No,
like,
no, 100%.
People have left, and so I do think with a lot of these changes to the PvP sandbox, and even the lack of constant changes and the amount of time it takes for a sandbox change, I do think that is because when it comes to the Crucible team, I think the head of the snake's kind of been cut, and I think they they don't really know what to do.
No, you're right.
I think that's the context because I know for myself, I'm going to take a massive dump on Crucible, but I think that's the context that needs to be needed going forward.
So to transition into Crucible and just into PvP in general, and this sort of ends my point on PvE, is Iron Banner. So I forgot about Iron Banner. Yeah, the only new pinnacle weapon we got this season was Point of the Stag.
Oh, man.
That was the only new weapon we got. So besides the exotics, forget the exotics, the only new weapon we got was Point of the Stag.
I'm sorry, but like I just remembered. I went on like a whole thing going on about the value of Iron Banner armor in Vanilla Destiny, and what's the most valuable thing you can get is a bow. Man.
Exactly, and this is why that is my transition from PvE to PvP.
Yeah,
I'm not even going to mention the armor because the armor is non-existent in Iron Banner. Period.
What I'll talk about is I think there is absolutely no excuse. There is absolutely no excuse whatsoever. You can say nothing that'll change my mind as to why they do not update the armor more than they have.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. And you know what? If you were to come to me and you were to be like, listen, I have evidence that shows that they do change it or it's not as bad as you think, well, make me care about the armor. Make me care about the armor. Like,
exactly. And
another thing is, this kind of ties into the ornament thing. I don't understand why, if I want to, for example, make my armor look like a certain type of Iron Banner armor, like a certain type of faction armor, I have to have that armor. Like, if the armor looked decent, fair enough, I will make my armor look like that. But if I think armor looks decent, and I can only make it look like that armor by having Iron Banner armor, well, I mean, I've got my Iron Banner armor from like 6 months ago.
Yeah,
and
same.
I'm just gonna make it look like I'm not gonna go and get that. Like maybe I'll get it like once. Okay, no, fair enough. Iron Banner armor comes out, and I have to unlock it. Cool. I go out, I do that, I unlock it. Next month, the exact same armor. I'm not getting any of the armor. Month after that, It's different armor, but I've already gotten that armor from the last 4 months ago. I'm not getting the armor. I have not played Iron Banner like properly, I want to say for the last 6 months, maybe even a year, because the
I
armor
agree with
has
that.
no value at all.
You're absolutely right, and I'm in the exact
Like,
same boat
and
where I just don't
it's
touch
such
Iron
an
Banner.
easy fix. It's such an easy fix. Just add on a perk where it's like, oh, gives you for if you have the full set on, gives you 25 bonus light in the playlist. You know, to compete against people that are just like
Give you a reason.
relentlessly farming
You know what?
the artifact.
That is actually what made the Black Armory armor so unique, because it actually has an extra mod slot specifically for forges, which is something that no other armor in the entire game has. That's a unique thing that
Yeah.
armor has, and that is an incentive for me to not only grind for it but get the full set, because I love that armor. I think it's a good looking piece of armor, and it gives me that incentive. Iron Banner is rinse and repeat. There's nothing new.
I
We've only
think
had one
a
pinnacle
good
weapon.
word for it is uninspired. And I want to quickly, because I think some people might take offense to that. If you compare, because D1 did go through several, I guess you could say phases of armor, but from the first, I guess you could say season of Iron Banner, the armor was modeled after the Iron Lords and their armor. The weapons were literally the weapons those Iron Lords used. Even if you go on, like I'm thinking of that one hunter armor where he had like the wolf on his thing, on his back, the wolf pelt.
Yeah.
That again, you can easily tie that into the lore, because you had the Iron Lords who were like the main group, but then you had the Iron Wolves. And I can tell you from Rise of Iron, the Iron Wolves and the Iron Lords combined had well over 100 numbers. Like that was their total number, well over that. So you could easily say, if you see anything wolf inspired, anything in that kind of range inspired, you can easily just say, well, that's based off the Iron Wolves. However, when you bring in stuff like kind of Japanese inspired or whatever, or any other kind of weird looking ancient stuff, that's fair enough, but it's not inspired from the Iron Banner. It just makes you look like somebody who's a big history fan or something. And I'm not gonna criticize the weapons, because I think I don't like the weapons purely because of the way they look. I mean, I think some of them could be really cool, and I think some of like how they actually perform. I'm not saying they're bad weapons. I'm just saying the only reason I don't actually grind for them is because I don't really like how they look. But yeah, no, I think in general, it's not the same. It's not the same. And as for the actual playlist, the actual gameplay, from a gameplay perspective, I do think it's been ruined a little bit. Maybe not so much now, because we're near the end of the season, but especially at the start and into the middle, it was kind of ruined by this relentless artifact leveling up to get like limitless levels. Because as a result of that, there's no definite cap, and without a definite cap, you're going to have people that are going to use the system to such an intense effect that they're just going to be able to bully everybody out of it.
Oh yeah, which is annoying. And I'm going to use my cousin as an example here, because my cousin works a full-time job, right?
Or even Ewan, somebody like Ewan, somebody who doesn't play the game that often.
Yeah, exactly. Or exactly, 100%. Someone who doesn't even play the game that often. But my cousin in particular, he loves Iron Banner. He is all about Iron Banner just because he loves the idea of playing in Iron Banner. But he is at such a dramatic disadvantage because of people who play it dramatically more than him, and you get the artifact power level.
And it's not like in the past, if you don't play the game that often, you come back and you finally sit down to play the game, and you're getting your butt kicked, and you're being
there should definitely
abused.
Be a power cap.
You know, and you have the understanding, okay, I'm this level, and I need to reach that level. Therefore, achieving that level is my goal, and now I have something to grind for and something to play the game for. That does not exist.
No, that doesn't exist.
Because you could be like, okay, I want to get to level 1030. Well, by the time you get to level 1030, the number's been up to 1060.
Exactly, because those people have been playing more and more and more.
So, yeah, from a gameplay perspective, it's just kind of not really worth it.
I want to go back to the armor. And the reason why I want to go back to the armor is because that transitions me into the next part of PvP.
Mm-hmm.
So not only is the armor not consistent, with no new visual changes or no new perk changes, everything's the same. Now,
What do you mean everything's the same?
what is in like Iron Banner compared to 6 months ago?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's the same. They haven't updated the armor in any way. There's nothing new to grind for, and that really shows. And this is my transition in annoyingly, and this is going to be a big topic. Trials of Osiris.
Hmm.
So when they brought Trials of Osiris back, we
So
didn't get new armor.
are we still talking about Iron Banner, or are we going to Trials of Osiris now?
Well, this is my transition to Trials
Okay.
of Osiris with the armor I did, because not only did we not get new armor with Iron Banner, they brought Trials back. It was really hyped. They were super happy about the fact that they brought Trials back. We didn't get new armor for Trials either.
I can forgive that. I can forgive that.
We got reprised armor from Destiny 1.
Yeah, but it was the best looking armor from Destiny 1 in Trials
See,
wise.
this is, I think, where me and you disagree.
No, because okay, so this is Trials this season. Trials next season, if it's the same thing, then I'll agree with you. But I think for the first season of Trials, they want to make it nostalgic. I understand that. But like, if next season they don't add new weapons and new armor, then I'll agree with you. But I think for something that's so looked back fondly upon as Trials, bringing it back and having it like that, I think that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
I mean, I'm not too sure. The only reason why is because I'm so used to seeing the same thing without any updates.
I know, I understand what you're saying. I think for me, the only part of that I agree with you on would be when it comes to going flawless. I think the weapons need to be adept. I think there need. I really do think that the armor needs to be. Oh,
there's no incentive
mainly
to
the
go
weapons.
flawless,
I think the weapons mainly. I don't know. Maybe if I don't know. But yeah, I think
is
that's
a difficult one. Now one thing I would just
the lighthouse
touch upon is fucking hell yeah. Oh,
yeah, I'll go into that later. I'll go into that later.
So my one thing before we go off into the lighthouse is the what was it? It was literally just there. It was the armor with Trials and the fact that so Trials of the Nine is something that I really missed. I sweat Trials of the Nine back in season 1 and 2. And
I remember Max was telling me you were really high up on the leaderboards.
Yeah, so Max, I was ranked 22 in the entire world for Trials of the Nine. Me, Max, and a friend of mine used to carry other people who couldn't get flawless to the flawless state because of how good we were. I loved it. Trials was my absolute baby, and that is why I never took the armor off. And that is why I have the emblem that I have, because you can only get that emblem that I have if you go flawless in Trials of the Nine. And to me, that's my way of representing something that I was so fond of back then.
And nobody else can get that as well.
Exactly, and dude, I loved it. But what was so great about Trials of the Nine, though, is that every season was different. There was always something new.
Yeah.
Which is why, actually, I understand with your opinion when you say if they don't change anything next season, you'll agree, because then that means there's a second season of
Another
no
thing,
changes.
though, was you had 3 different companies working on the game back then. And also, potentially, Trials of the Nine was developed during Destiny 2's development period, which was 3 to 4 years. So, I mean, they had a lot longer to work.
Trials of the Nine.
They had a lot longer to work on Trials of the Nine than on Curse of Osiris.
It was my baby. That is my baby, and there's nothing you can say.
That being said, though, Trials is literally something taken from Destiny 1. And I mean, they could have easily made it. Like, would you have been happier if they just brought back all the armor from Destiny 1 this season?
Okay, so this is
because even though it's brought back, there's at least more of it.
The difference is I guess this is where my problem is. When they brought Trials of Osiris back with the Destiny 1 armor, I was disappointed because 1, it wasn't new armor, and 2, I don't think that's the best armor from Destiny 1. If you were to look at some of the raid gear that you can get from Destiny 1,
I'm gonna Google it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I only went flawless once, but like, I mean, like, that's one of my best memories of the game.
Dude, take a look at the armor that you can get from Destiny 1 and then compare that to the armor that you can get in Destiny 2.
Yeah, I'll do that now.
I'll give you just a quick minute to do that, because you'll see like why it's disappointing that that out of everything they bring this back.
Okay, I'm looking now.
I'll flash some images on screen for you guys as well.
Trials of Osiris armor.
But even
No,
just
another
armor
thing
in
is,
general.
from what I remember, it was mainly the hunter stuff because obviously I didn't really play the other classes. So maybe the
Yeah.
warlock looked amazing in later seasons. But
Put it this way, and this is just my opinion, and you're more than welcome to disagree with this.
Mhm.
There's only 3 armor types in this entire game that really stands out as being wow. That's Trials of the Nine armor. That's Solstice of Heroes armor, and that's the that's the Black Armory armor. Now that is probably a statement that a lot of people would change up.
I'm just thinking. So you're talking about like WoW? Is that what you're talking about?
The wow factor, the fashion.
Okay. Like there's a lot of cool armor, but I mean I'm thinking about WoW. Well, I mean
I'll show
Dreaming
you.
City armor. The Reverie Dawn stuff and the raid armor. Like, what do you think about Last Wish armor?
I mean, it's good. I just don't think it's as good.
Okay, fair enough.
So you play Hunter, right?
Again, you need to remember that with the Reverie Dawn, if you have the full set, you can make your armor fully taken.
Let's have a look.
What else is good? The Gambit Prime armor is kind of cool. If you have the full set, like with the tier 3 or whatever, the tier 5 or I can't remember how many levels there were. I think it was tier 3. Solstice of Heroes, yes, you did right. I preferred the first wave of the Solstice armor. The second, like with the way the lighting worked.
Yeah, exactly.
Crucible armor, I was never that big of a fan. TBH. I thought the Eververse armor, I think it was from last season. The Cartographer? Or do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You do. I thought that, especially the Hunter and Titan, I thought it looked pretty good.
But if you were to compare like Solstice and Trials to what we have now, it's just like, you know, we've done so much better before.
And I think it's something that's very important to add is that nowadays, guys, a lot of this cool armor, if they ever added armor that was this level of cool, unless it was in a raid, you would 100% see this inside of Eververse.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
It just pains me to note that, to even think that. But dude, it's got to the point now where if I put that armor on, and this is how out of touch things have been ever since the game's gone free to play. If I put that armor on now, I literally get followed around the tower and public spaces because people who are new to the game who didn't pay anything have never seen this before. And they will never see it again.
But I think another side argument, and some people may make this argument, is that these are cosmetics. Cosmetics in a free-to-play game are not as important.
Well, technically, I mean, you are technically right, besides the fact that Solstice is an actual set that you had to earn. But Trials is an actual set that you had to earn.
But I think the main fact we were talking about is for Trials of Osiris, they did bring back stuff from another game. They didn't make their own.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
exactly.
So we still haven't really gone into Trials yet, so I think we should probably do that because we were kind of talking about Iron Banner armor in comparison to.
Yeah, we all know that.
Can I talk about
armor is out of touch?
Because I think there's a lot of stuff, but I kind of, from a story point of view, can I just talk about the story kind of point of view?
No, honestly, dude, take the light. It's all yours. Go.
Okay, all right. So Trials of Osiris, they wouldn't have had to put too much effort into a story for me to care. And that might sound surprising considering how like much I've mentioned that I care about the story. The reason for that is because I kind of look at Trials the same way, or I used to look at Trials the same way I looked at Crucible. See, Crucible had a story behind it, being that after all the sieges being laid on the city from the Fallen, Crucible was a way for Guardians to train and prepare to constantly keep themselves ready in case a fight ever took place, like a proper battle, you know? So I kind of used to look at Trials like that. I mean, in Destiny 1, it was very mysterious. It was very mysterious. I don't want to go into too much detail on this, but I remember back in the day before Trials released, like leaks about the way Trials used to work came out, like from the old D1 before they changed everything. Like apparently the Fate of All Full Scout Rifle was like attached to an exotic quest or something. I'm not going to go into it, but anyway, it was mysterious. There wasn't too much information. The guy, Brother Vance, very mysterious character. Osiris was a legend we knew very little, if not anything, about. So D2 Trials comes out, and well, I mean, it's already kind of. They actually no, they saved it a little bit by replacing Vance with Saint 14, because in my opinion they ruined Brother Vance.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting because it kind of worked because obviously Osiris, he's not running the trials, and Saint 14 is this dude who's kind of out of his time. You know, he's kind of here. He doesn't really have anything to do, so he's just he's helping his buddy Osiris out by kind of minding the trials. And so yeah, he didn't have to put any real story into it, but the lighthouse. Okay, now I'm gonna be straight up honest, right? I have not been flawless yet. And I think many of you, considering like, how much you know about the way Trials is now, I don't think you can really blame me for not going flawless. But from what
Hmm.
I've seen of the Lighthouse, I think it's such a pale comparison to the old one, and I don't know why they changed it. Don't know. Well, actually, no. I think they changed it because they tried to remake it in D2 and it just didn't work. But I remember, right? The
Hmm.
the old Lighthouse was extremely mysterious, not only because of the fact that I mean they didn't advertise it. People would go flawless, and all of a sudden they could go to Mercury, which Mercury is a whole different topic altogether because that was cut content, and all of a sudden, what you could go to Mercury, you know. Um, but I mean, there was so much more to it than just getting a chest. There was because of the fact that it was on Mercury, it had an environment and kind of an ambience that was nowhere else in the game except for any, I guess, of
Yeah.
the Crucible maps on Mercury,
It's
and
fresh.
it felt it felt almost lived in. Like there was a ship, and it looked like somebody had set up camp there. And for a lot of us, for the lore from the lore community, we were wondering, oh, was Osiris, was he out here? Was this one of his kind of bases or whatever? Not only that, but there was hidden passages underground that you could explore, and it was just really cool. And I do think it's not that big of a deal for the story, but I do think the fact that they changed the lighthouse to something a little bit more like
Bland, isn't it?
it's just land that's just kind of copy pasted Mercury from what we have now. It's just whatever. From a story point of view, I'm very happy. I'm very happy with what they've done with Brother Vance with the darkness and the experiments. They've brought in kind of darkness guardians a little bit with it. It's extremely, extremely interesting, and I have to say, I appreciate that they do that. I'm really appreciative that they're doing that because I think a lot of crew, and I don't mind. I know we were giving out about the fact that the gameplay, like the actual game, like missions for the story, don't appreciate the written lore. They can get away with it when it comes to Trials. They don't need to put all that in Trials because I do understand that Trials is Crucible PvP, and a lot of PvP players they just don't care. So I don't. That's fine. But the fact that they went and making it, the fact that he's blind allows him to detect things nobody else can see. The relation kind of going a little bit deeper into the relationship between the Vex and the light and the darkness. We got an update from the Queen a little bit, which is something we haven't had since, Forsaken. It was very good.
True.
But like that's That's all the praise you're gonna get
That's
from
it.
me.
Yeah, that is it.
That's it. And it's the really obscure stuff as well. It's the really
Mm,
it's like the stuff that I've just praised, most people don't even know about. So
exactly. Because they don't care. Because why should they?
it's not like you have to go digging to find it. You have to go
Hmm.
really digging to find it.
People aren't gonna do that. The thing is people
No.
when you've got a game that's all about loot and guns and putting that trigger on the next best thing, they're not gonna go digging in
Mm-hmm.
the archives to read a book.
Yeah.
That's just
Especially
not
when there
gonna
are also
happen.
YouTube channels.
Which is exactly why I feel like that's the thing. That the Bungie, I don't want to keep on saying Destiny 2. Bungie shouldn't be relying on the community of
Oh
others
my goodness.
to tell their
Can you
story.
imagine if Bife and Mylan Games and the countless other channels, if they weren't a thing?
No, I know. They'd
Oh,
actually have to put in work into their actual story campaign.
I still remember though. I'm not gonna go too much into this, but I do remember I've only seen Bife really angry at Bungie once, and that was when before Destiny 2 and came out, they announced that they were getting rid of the Grimoire. I remember he like freaked out and he was
That
really upset.
I I can imagine that. Yeah,
Of
we
course,
won't go too
of
much
course,
into
they
that, but
hadn't
yeah.
fully explained how they were going to do lore tabs and all that. But I just remember, yeah. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm gonna stop talking because I've done the story part. Do you want to talk about stuff like connectivity and cheating and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, that's a whole another thing, guys. I've learned the entire animal kingdom just by going by Destiny 2's error codes.
And the
At
king is
this
not the
point,
lion; it's the beaver.
exactly 100%. Um, yeah, a lot of the time. Here's the thing: it throws all of these error codes at you. Excuse my language. No one knows what the fuck they mean.
No.
All they see is great. I've been DC'd. I should either reconnect or restart my game.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but whenever I get an error code, and pretty much 99% of error codes are basically saying,
Yeah.
hey, this is a you problem. No, it's not. My Wi Fi's fine. I haven't been disconnected from anything besides this one thing. It's you, not
I
me,
think
sort of
I know
situation.
for me, and even back in Destiny 1, like I think the one code I think most of us are familiar with is Weasel. And that's basically just like your internet dies or something like that. You know, like
Yeah,
that's but like you get Beaver. Oh, what does Beaver mean? Like whose
yeah,
fault is
Beaver.
that? Like
It's just ridiculous. One of the main reasons why I didn't touch Trials is purely because of hackers. Um,
yeah.
Now I'm not gonna go too hard
Do
on
you
this, and the
here's a
whole.
quick question for you. Do you think that it's well, no, I've got two questions for you. I guess they're related to the same thing.
I think I know
Yeah.
what one of
Yeah.
them is, but yeah.
First question is number one, do you think we would have seen as much cheating if
Hmm.
Destiny 2 was on PC? And that's kind of a much easier question to answer, I think. But the second one,
Yeah,
do
that is
you
an easy
think
question.
that we would have seen as much cheating on PC
I know what you're
if
gonna
Bungie
ask.
didn't move from Blizzard to Steam?
Yeah, okay, right. I'll answer your questions. First question is
Yeah.
the first question is an easy answer. Would we see as much cheating if the platform wasn't on PC? Well, no, we wouldn't.
Yeah.
People who hack, people who, I mean, it shows in the analytics, it shows in the statistics, it shows in the numbers. The hackers mainly come onto PC. It doesn't necessarily mean that consoles are immune. I can guarantee you now, console definitely do get some hackers, but the
Yeah.
actual
Even in
quantity,
D1.
yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
and that was a purely console game. But the quantity, definitely on PC. Um, do I think that they would have experienced more hackers
Or less,
because of
or
the
any difference.
because of the migration to Steam? That would be a yes and a no. I don't think it's because they moved to Steam. I think it's actually because the um game went free to play.
Hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because the anti-cheat system on Steam is
Yeah.
actually pretty decent,
Yeah. No,
which
it
is
is.
something that Blizzard didn't have. So I actually think it's purely because the game went free to play, which leads on to my next thing where I fully, and I'm probably going to get so many people disagree with me on this potentially, but I fully support the decision of Bungie saying that Trials is behind a paywall.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think it's unfortunate. I think it's very unfortunate, but I'm sure that they'll figure out some fair way of doing it. And I do think it's just yeah, it has to be done. Unfortunately, it has to be
You know,
done.
it might be a season pass thing. It might be a expansion thing. I don't know how
Yeah.
they would work it, but I would be in full support of that, because you tend to find that the people are hacking are probably the people not spending money.
Oh my goodness, I don't know how many times, right? Because I've like I have played Trials quite a bit. The amount of times where we see that somebody's cheating, we do some research, and like their Steam account is brand new. Like if they've just like it's
It's
super
just
new.
been created. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very
To
common.
respond to your response about Blizzard, something I just realized is, in a way, though, do you think that it would, if there was the same level of cheating, do you think there would have been a faster response because Blizzard is Activision's problem?
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, if Bungie was still with Activision, it would have been clamped down fairly quickly and I think more efficiently. But because they're purely independent now, I think it's taken longer. You know, they keep saying how hackers and all of
Yeah.
these disconnection issues are all something they're very much aware of. I mean, I'd be very surprised if you weren't aware of it. You telling me you're
Yeah.
aware of it isn't, that isn't me thinking, oh, great, it's going to be resolved. That's just me thinking, great, okay, you know something that you should know anyway. But I don't think they're necessarily fixing the issue as efficiently as what could have
No.
been.
And I think okay, hacking and cheaters, yes, I can understand, especially with the circumstances going on with the game at the moment, how that can be difficult. I think for the disconnections and the lag and just the general
Server
cancer,
response times.
it's a very easy solution, and that's dedicated servers.
It is an easy solution. Like, here's the thing, and this goes back to something you said early in this conversation. We as players, we're not stupid. We haven't just been born into life. You know, we have a basic, if not knowledgeable, understanding as to how game development works, how servers work, how connections work. We have that understanding. It's not a basic thing. Sorry, it's not an advanced thing to fix. It's actually quite a basic solution.
It's just that it's expensive.
Exactly. I was about to say that it comes down to money. It comes down to time. It comes down to resources. But again, the argument is Bungie isn't one person. Bungie is a team of people. I personally think the problem is they're not prioritizing their time as efficiently as what they should be. I think them cutting off part of their company or spending more time hiring more people to work on a separate game is probably a bad idea.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just not going to say you're right, because I think
Oh no, because we don't know.
Yeah,
we,
I think
we
there's a
don't
lot
know, do
that
we?
I just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not speaking as matter of fact. I'm just speaking on what I feel and what I see. I could be completely wrong, but I can only really go by what's presented to me, and that's just how I feel, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How about
Trials as a whole.
wait, can we talk about actual like rewards? Like the incentive
From
and the
PvP?
and no, from Trials. The
Oh,
incentive
okay, yeah, it's fine.
um I guess because I've actually been, I guess, playing and trying to grind for stuff. I'll just talk about this.
Yeah. I'll hand this over to you purely because you've got more experience with Trials of Osiris than what I
Yeah.
have by a long mile.
Even though it's not that much more, but yeah, I think it's tricky because as a player who's trying to get the flawless, you're faced with two decisions at this current time of Trials. Number one, do you go in with your team? And by the way, can I just say, because of the way Trials is, there's only one passage that's actually viable, which is the Mercy, because there's, you're basically guaranteed to have a loss. That is unfair. But anyway, you have one decision. Two decisions to make, or to choose between. Number one, do you attempt it, and do you just try and put up with the cheaters because you think the rewards are worth it, or do you not think the rewards are worth it, and do you just avoid Trials altogether? And I think I think it's in a very tricky position now, especially with what they've been talking about with sunsetting, because I can tell
Oh
I
god,
don't
yeah.
remember I have a fair idea of all the weapons that they've brought into Trials. The two best ones are, I think, three best ones being the auto rifle, the sniper, and the shotgun.
Right.
However, the shotgun and the sniper, actually, I'm gonna just Google this real quick, because if the Trials sniper is not the right frame, it is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, which makes the grind almost pointless, to be honest with you.
Sniper Destiny 2.
But if you just to sort of touch upon what you just said there, people haven't been playing Trials of Osiris with the intention of going flawless. There's actually been a lot of
Not
farming of
anymore.
tokens.
Not anymore. No, because going flawless, just there's no adept weapons. If once you get
No.
the weapon, once you get the weapon once, if you want a better roll, it's better off just farming the first 3 wins. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just,
So you just reset and just keep on doing that.
and again, I mean, like, okay, apart from a weapon or armor piece, what are you getting from going flawless apart from going to the lighthouse?
You get
Potentially
a light.
an exotic, which, I mean, number one, the value is kind of low anyway of exotics.
Yeah,
And number
that's
two, most likely
really,
you have them all, especially if you're doing an end game light level based event like Trials. And the final thing is materials. And Trials is not the only way to get materials.
Nope.
And I get it. It's the end game thing for Crucible players. But considering the fact that Trials is light level based, it's, you know, those guys most likely grinded PvE to get there in the first place. For their
Exactly.
god roll stats on their armor,
You
most
bump
likely
into
they were
the
doing Pit
Iron
of
Banner problem
Heresy and other stuff to get that masterwork gear. So
then.
it's not like those people, oh well, I need those resources because this is the only event that I do, or the only activity that I do that I get those from. Because most likely you did other things to get there in the first place. So
Yep.
you get those materials from, you know, going flawless. Well, I'm going to say the exact same thing to that I said to the Grandmaster Nightfall. I'd rather do Pit of Heresy 3 times and dismantle the armor and get the resources from that.
Yeah, exactly. There are so many more efficient ways. You just if you really want materials like enhancement cores or anything like that, you would just do Nightfall strikes, 970 or above.
No, I
Nice
do want
and
to stress
easy.
as well. They have said that they're going to fix it, but man, 3 months is a long time.
The only thing that I'm hoped for, and this sums up pretty much everything that we've spoken about for this entire season, right? I am hoping and I am praying that the reason why things have been so lackluster is because they're working on something big for what's coming.
Just wanted to say the sniper's not really relevant because it's adaptive frame.
Okay, fair enough.
Because it can't one hit supers unless you get box breathing.
Why would you then go for that when you just use Revoker instead?
And also now, by the way, the shotgun, as well as pretty much every other shotgun, unless you have a Mindbenders, is also irrelevant because of Felwinter's Lie.
Because of Felwinter's Lie.
So
yeah,
that means
exactly.
the only weapon you're really going for in this is the
assault rifle. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy how one quest completely. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a separate thing, but yeah, I really just hope they are working on something big for the future. There is huge potential, and we're not going to go too much into detail just because we'll be here for hours. But they could go into the story of Aldrin Soul being.
So are we talking about the future and what we want to see and what's potentially?
Well, I just want to quickly touch upon it because it just seems like every single thing that we've spoken about so far just seems to be missing something, and it seems like that something is something that they could have added.
Season of the irrelevant.
Yeah, season of the irrelevant, season of the unworthy, season of the half-baked. Dude, you said it perfectly. And I just want to reiterate, guys, exactly what Ben said. You could do absolutely nothing and still progress in this season. You could log into Destiny 2 from day 1 on the season of the worthy and then log in on the last day and you'll be fine.
No, don't get me wrong. There's a way of doing that and being effective. And I honestly, like, I can joke, right? I can joke about, well, I didn't do last season, and yet somehow Saint 14 came back to life. Look at me, I'm so good. I didn't even play the game, and I
Mhm.
brought him back from the dead. But at the same time, I do have that sad feeling of I wish I was there for that. And I know that there are
See,
people that are like, I was there for that.
now
So I
that
think
is something.
there are ways of doing it. I think it's not the best way to
Mm.
tell a story, but there are ways to do it right.
So
And
I'm
I
gonna give
think
some. I'm gonna give some
yeah.
praise now. I think Bungie deserves some praise here. So one thing I do know, and this is all confirmed by Bungie. So this isn't speculation. This isn't something that a fan has said or something that's been read on
Okay.
4chan or Reddit. This is 100% confirmed by Bungie. These are all issues that they know about, and the issues that I know are changing. Right. So Ben just mentioned how he regrets the fact that he missed last season.
Yeah.
Saint 14 appears in the tower, and there are people who play Destiny 2 who are like, damn,
Yeah.
I wish I was there, compared to the people who are like, yeah, I was there. I was there when Saint 14 casted his bubble as a Titan, and we were there just defending him as he was being swamped by Vex. Like, I was there for that, but unfortunately
Oh
you weren't.
man. Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing. That actually sounds really cool.
Yeah,
Especially
dude, it
since
was.
like, I did all the stuff in Curse with Cyrus and
Hmm.
that had to do with him. Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, sorry to throw that at you, but here's the thing. So here's something that I know Destiny or Bungie, sorry, have said. So they were talking about the idea, this, and if this were to be a thing, this wouldn't start until season 12. But they were talking about the idea of seasons completely being eradicated, and that they would have a yearly based structure, which means that if something happened in, say, let's say February, you could experience that in September. Players can enter that part of the
Yeah,
story whenever they see fit.
that's
Now,
good.
if that was a thing now, that means that Ben could experience the rise of Saint 14
Yeah.
a month from now.
Would I want to do that? Yeah, but I can still respect them not doing that.
But that I guess this is just my way of saying they're listening.
Yeah. But I'm
This
sure
is
there
a
are
complaint.
but I'm sure there are other people that also didn't do it and would be like, "No, I think it's not fair that I missed out." So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I really hope they implement that purely because it would be nice for everyone to experience the same thing. Because
Yeah.
not everyone has the time, and it could be many reasons. It could be family emergencies. It could be booked holidays. It could be just the time, just because of work. We're in a really sort of deep situation right now with the whole COVID-19
Yeah.
thing, where people have actually lost money.
Yeah.
By the time everything gets lifted, people are going to be solely focused on their work, their jobs, paying rent because of how much money they've lost. Like, people just don't have the time. They might not have the time for Destiny, so being able to revisit content at any point, I think, is a really good idea.
Can I
um
just say you've actually just triggered me now because now I know about this really cool moment with Saint 14. What's the equivalent of that what's the equivalent of that in this season?
yeah, but see, here's
What's
the thing. This is why I really want to sort of defend last season, because sadly last season got absolutely shit on.
Yeah, people didn't know that it was only going to get worse.
But if you look at what we've had now, and I know it's easy to say now because we've experienced this season,
Yeah.
but if you look at what we had now, last season looks like an absolute gold mine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would quite happily have a repeat of last season if it meant completely ignoring this season. I think last season was brilliant. And the Corridors of Time, I think, looked aesthetically beautiful.
Yeah.
It's more than a bunker underneath the ground, put it that way. And guess what? Nothing was bugged. When something came out, I was able to experience it straight away.
Yeah.
And this argument completely eradicates the contradicting argument of prices.
Mm-hmm.
You pay so much for this amount. At the end of the day, I experienced something that I thought was phenomenal for the same price as what I've experienced something which I thought was absolute trash.
That's a very fair point. Like,
so yeah.
yeah, like I'm just thinking now, and like I think how do I say this? I think the main reason why I've actually seen like nobody criticizing the story part of the lie is because for a lot of people that played even D1, Felwinter is somebody obscured in the deep lore. But
Mm-hmm.
if they were to pull this kind of short kind of crap with Saint 14, it would definitely get criticized a lot more because people have been put in front of his body. People have been told about him. People are very aware of him, and he means something to everybody because Bungie has made sure everybody knows about him.
Yeah,
And
especially with the story of Ikora.
I just think, they're going to get away with it this season, right? Unfortunately,
Oh no,
because
they will.
no, because the main story is about the Almighty, which nobody cares about. They can make a terrible story. Well, if you can even call it a story about the Almighty, and they'll get away with it because nobody cares about the Almighty to begin with. However, if it was about Felwinter, I would freak out. Now, this is where I'm going with this, right?
Oh no,
I
see.
They managed to do it right last season when it mattered. This season, I hate saying this, it didn't matter, and so they, next season they can't afford to do this because
No.
And I'm not going to go into a whole tangent about Destiny 3, but they're going into territory. Like, I already, in my kind of Felwinter rant, I talked about, the reason why it mattered so much to me was because in the lore, for me, the territory surrounding the Iron Lords and their history, it's sacred ground. And so for you to kind of half-bake that kind of story is very disrespectful to me. Let me just tell you, right? If you're somebody who doesn't know much about the lore, anything surrounding the darkness is even more so. Because that is the true enemy. That is something that has been hyped up since, even the Destiny 1 vanilla trailers.
Yeah.
It has been hyped up since concept art. And so they're going forward, and potentially either next season we're going to be preparing for the pyramid ships, or they're going to arrive in some way. That's yet to be seen.
No, I am in full respect of that, and I agree with you 100%.
But what I think is if they get this, they have an expansion to do this and a season to do this. If they don't pull this off, I just want to say it doesn't matter. And this is just my opinion, right? Because they've had amazing story beats, they've had amazing quests, they've had amazing stories. I'm sorry, but the pyramid ships and with the darkness, that is the most important thing. It is the only thing that matters. Once the pyramid ships come into this world, which is Earth or whatever, nothing else matters. Callus, unless he has something to do with this, doesn't matter. The Red Legion, unless they have something to do with this, I don't care. I don't want to see them. Nothing. Anna Bray, I hate her anyway, but she doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't like her.
When the time comes, they have to be treated right. And from what I've seen about somebody as sacred as Felwinter being treated like this, and even with Rasputin is just kind of like following along Anna Bray and not being treated right. But I'm not going to go into either way. What I'm trying to say is,
that's a separate thing.
They get away with this season on a story point, kind of, because it's not something people really cared about. They cannot do that next season or the big expansion. Just to be clear, there are people already not buying next season or the expansion purely because of the twab talking about sunsetting. These are people that have not mentioned the story. They have not mentioned the state of Crucible. They've not mentioned the state of the end game. This is purely based on a twab. This week at Bungie on the website talking about people are already not buying the season
because
or the
of
expansion.
That one thing.
So if they mess up the darkness,
oh my god, dude,
is that redeemable?
That's gonna be I'll be honest with you, and you have to understand. I love this game. The thing is, it's a literal obsession. I play this game because I am addicted to Destiny 2. Like, it's as simple as that. If they mess something like this up, that is going to be bad. Like that, I don't even think that's an exaggeration, because you have to understand this isn't just something that's been hyped since Destiny 2.
And the reason I keep going back to Felwinter is because they have shown that they're capable of messing up.
And they're also capable of showing that they just don't seem to care. And even from a communication point of view, like Bungie have literally won awards because of their communication with the community. But I'll be honest with you, this season has been shocking because I have seen nothing.
I can't. I don't know how much the pandemic is affecting things, but I don't know.
I mean, that is one thing to consider. Obviously,
I do think communication maybe can change depending on circumstances. There are no
I actually don't
circumstances
know.
that can be tolerated for attitude, and I think Bungie's attitude is something, especially this season, that has just it's got a bad taste in our
I don't
mouths.
know. I don't feel like COVID-19 is a
The
excusable
reason why I didn't
reason.
use that word, by the way, is because people just get automatically demonetized when they say it.
Yeah, no, it is fine. I mean, we
Okay.
no, it is fine. I'm sure it get buried. But to be honest with you, I just don't think that's a plausible
Yeah,
excuse,
no,
really, because
I was just coming up with
the
something.
the, the technology, right, that we have, it's 2020. I can video call someone from Egypt or America and not get charged a single penny
Yeah. No,
because
yeah,
of
yeah. No, you're dead right.
because of fake.
Yeah.
It's not hard to communicate, and to post a tweet on Twitter to communicate with your fan base who actually care about what you're making and presenting to the
Yeah.
world. That is not difficult.
No. And again,
Like,
going back to the attitude, I think unfortunately the player base, I know for myself 100%, and maybe you as well, what we feel is that it's no longer about how can we make the game more enjoyable for you to play. Now it is, we're not happy with how you guys are playing. We want you to play the way we want you to play. And I know you think you're having fun right now, or you were having fun, but trust us, when we take that away and give you what we think's better, you're going to thank us. I know we've shown you our changes and you don't like them, but trust us, we're going to do it anyway because we know what's best for you. It's our game, it's our vision. And it's the exact same thing as Destiny 2 vanilla, and that
that's a
nearly killed the
huge
game.
contradiction, though.
Yeah.
It's a huge contradiction, and the reason why I say it's a huge contradiction is because during the hype around Forsaken and when it was released to the
Oh
world,
my goodness.
they quite literally, like, and I quote this, they quoted, "We want you to play Destiny 2 how you want to play.
Mm-hmm.
We want you to build your own monster killing
Oh my
machine."
goodness.
And now we get this whole sunsetting update where they've actually gone and said, "Actually, no, you're not going to play
Yeah.
how you're playing right now. We're gonna take that all away from you and force you into the new and better gear by
Mm-hmm.
sunsetting and capping the power level of all of the stuff. By the way, including pinnacle weapons that you've grinded thousands of kills
And
for, and that's not an exaggeration. It's literally thousands of
I
kills."
kind of understand. I kind of understand why they're doing this, because at the moment we have extremely powerful weapons, and we're at the stage where if a weapon comes out, right? Like, okay,
It's the next
Randy's
best thing, right?
Randy's throwing knife. Okay, the scout rifle. It's a good weapon. It's a cool weapon. It's a unique weapon. I'm probably never going to get it because I don't want to replace it. I don't want to replace anything else that I'm currently using with it. And it's a
Hmm.
problem that they know and that they're trying to fix. However, they're not doing it the right way. And I'll
No.
just say it here and now. This is why I think we needed a Destiny 3. Because
Yeah,
I
a
know
fresh start.
people hate the idea of losing all their gear. But from a gameplay perspective, there are some issues that cannot be fixed in one game in the space of a few months.
Yeah, especially when they're trying to
Because
keep
when
their
you
player
try
base.
and fix this problem, you're just making it worse.
Yeah, I mean they've clearly shown that, but
I mean, people
I don't
freaked out.
know.
People freaked out when they nerfed Gallahorn.
Yeah, and that was way back in D1.
Like,
I mean, there's many examples. I mean, you could say the same about when they nerfed Whisper.
I mean, no, people freaked out, myself included, and I definitely myself included. People freaked out when they didn't bring Pocket Infinity into Year 3. That was the only exotic they didn't bring into Year 3. The only one. People had that much of a fuss about gear not coming forward, and now here we are.
Yeah, I mean, we honestly, I know we sort of went a little bit off topic.
Yeah, but it's
from the
mainly
season, but
it
this
comes
is the
down to
thing.
incentive. Like,
Exactly.
I don't really think about it now because I'm not affected by it now, but I'm really afraid I'm going to get to the stage where I look at a quest or an activity and I look at the pinnacle gear at the end of that, and I think to myself, is this effort worth 3 seasons of a lifespan? I don't want to
The
think
answer
about
is going to be no.
I don't want to think like that, but I think we're going to have to weigh the effort to the lifespan. Is it worth having this weapon? Like, is it worth renting this weapon for this amount of time?
The reason why I already know that the answer is going to be no is because people aren't going to have the time to dedicate It's hours, by the way. We're talking literal hours or even days
Yeah,
because of
like
how
I'm like
much these.
an easy example is Recluse, or no, sorry, we'll say Not Forgotten, because I know it's not the best weapon, but people currently right now are trying to get that weapon. So imagine this weapon is introduced 3 seasons from now, okay?
Hmm.
And you are literally like Guardian 1 or whatever. You've not done any comp, and you know you need to get to Legend to get that weapon, but you also know that that weapon has a limited lifespan in which it's going to be viable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of grind we're talking about. Weighing up, is it worth me trying to get to 5,500 in order to get a limited
Yeah,
lifespan weapon
exactly.
when I can just, okay, yeah, it's a hand cannon. Well, I know I have Thorn. Thorn's got an unlimited lifespan. No, it's not worth it. I'm just gonna get really good with Thorn.
Yeah, exactly. You're just gonna see a lot of people using
No, in all
basically
fairness, that just made me
exotics.
realize exotics are gonna get a lot more value now, and that is a
Oh
good
no,
thing.
100%.
But is it worth the trade-off? I don't.
Well, the thing is it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a good thing, but they're going about it the complete wrong way. You can make exotics great again. I mean, this is a whole separate discussion about how exotics just aren't worth anything anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That does tie into sort of our PvP conversation purely
Yeah.
because if they sunset a lot of stuff, you're not going to be able to use your recluse anymore in things like trials or Iron Banner or competitive purely because the
Yeah.
power cap just is going to be non-existent. It's just strange coming from a company that said, yeah, play how you want to play, to now, yeah, you're playing how we feel
Yeah.
you should be playing.
And I think it comes down to, and I think this is my final point, considering
Yeah.
this season and considering the game as a whole. I think what we're seeing is a conflict of interest. That's what this game has turned into.
Between the community and the company.
Yes, and the thing is, there's no right or wrong answer because they're both viable. So Bungie, as a company, has the right to do whatever they want with this game, and so if
100%, it's their
if
game.
they have a vision, they have the right to push that vision on us, no matter how angry
Of
it
course they
makes us.
do.
And so this is what I believe has happened. They released Destiny 2 with their vision. We did not like that vision, and they suffered financially as a result. So, in order to make back the money and get the player base back up, because remember, this wasn't a free-to-play game, they conceded and they kind of let go of their vision, and they just tried to make us as happy as possible. And
My
so
goodness, everything we
eventually,
wanted.
by Forsaken, we were at a state where we were in very good spirits, and financially they were doing a lot better than they used to be, even though Activision dropped them for not making enough money. It doesn't matter. However, now Bungie's in a good place, and they have us in a good mindset, and they're making good money. They go free to play, they go to Steam, player base shoots up, and so that inner urge to move towards the vision that's in the studio kind of creeps in, and I think this is what we're seeing now. I think I don't think it's not that I don't think it's that they don't care about us, but I think they do feel like they have the end game and the meta and the play style that they think is the most fun for us, and so they're going to make sure we do that. And I think eventually it's a cycle, it's going to repeat itself where people boycott seasons, people boycott expansions, and eventually they make concessions, and then it's going to go, player base is going to go back up, money is going to go back into the company, and we're probably going to have this exact same conversation maybe a year or two from now. I think that is, when you take away, the game and you take away the story, if you look at it like a business, it's just a cycle.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is very corporate if you think about it from a different perspective. But yeah, I really hope things change. They've been hinting not only in the game but on social media about the big things to come. I'm very nervous for next season.
And I think that's the reason. Like, I know this podcast or video is supposed to be about one season, but the reason why we're going so off topic and about things is because this season has made us worry so much about the game as a whole, especially since we're so close to really important content, that this season is either going to be filler that never happens again, or it's an indicator that things are just gonna get worse. I think that's what we're really afraid about.
It is difficult. It's like I said at the very start of this video, we're going to branch off into all these different directions, but
It
at the
does
end of
come
the day,
back,
all
yeah.
these branches, it's the same root, it's the same tree, it all comes back to the same thing. But yeah, and again, I just want to repeat the same thing as what I did say at the start of this video. We're not hating on the
Oh
game,
no,
we're just passionate. It's just, this is all
no.
coming from passion.
Like
It's a huge passion.
I can be frustrated with Bungie's decisions, um, but I'm only ever going to openly critique. Like honestly, the amount of times, excuse me, the amount of times I've wanted to, because like I go into the forums every day, and every day for the past I don't know how many months, it's usually filled with people hating on Bungie. That's usually
Mm.
the way it is. And the amount of times I've wanted to, um, write a smart post about, how about you sunset cheating in trials first before the weapons, stuff like that. And I'm going to be respectful, and I'm not going to be, openly kind of mean about things just because that's just who I am. But I am still going to critique the game because I love it at the end of the day.
No, and
But
that's the
actually, and
exact same
this
for me
this
as
is my
well.
final point. I think what people are afraid of is people are complaining, and people are angry, and people are really trying to have a discussion with Bungie. But I think the worst possible thing has happened, and I think the player base has either come to the conclusion or is coming to the conclusion that Bungie is not listening. I remember I saw a post on the forums, and somebody said there's a difference between hearing and listening and hearing. It's like you're
Mm.
listening about these issues, you're listening to these issues, but you're not hearing our feedback on them.
Exactly. It is like the old saying, it's like you're arguing with a brick wall.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like.
But yeah, right. We should probably close off this video.
No,
We've been
go for it.
talking
It's
for
been going for
just
a
over
while,
2 hours. Yeah, no, it's just over 2 hours 50 minutes. We've covered a lot of topics here.
but it's been good. I think we covered everything.
Yeah, honestly, I think we've covered a lot. And to be honest with you, everything that we've spoken about in this video does actually stem back from the sole purpose of this season. If this was a really good banger season in terms of story content and in terms of what they gave to us, I can guarantee you now this conversation wouldn't be happening. This comes from heart, this comes from passion, this comes from love for the game. I am going to be logging in this game tomorrow. I can probably guarantee I'm going to be logging in next week to this game. Like, I have hundreds and hundreds of hours. Do I regret it? I mean, I regret this season, I won't lie, but yeah, I want to see them succeed. I want to see them go far. I want them to just, I really want to see them do well.
Especially when, and I forgot to mention this, like I was saying with my friend asking me about, has this game surpassed Destiny 1 Year 3? The reason why people always reference Destiny 1 Year 3 is because Destiny, I'll say this, I'll just say it right now. Destiny has always been a meme as a franchise, because people that don't really play it or understand it. Because Destiny 1 came out and it wasn't really good. I know people, like for example, and this is something that bothers me kind of a lot actually, is there's a game reviewer called Angry Joe. I don't know if you've heard of him, Brad.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah. So Destiny came out, he reviewed it, didn't like it at all. That's fair enough, and he's never given it a second chance. And whenever he has talked about it, like I remember when he was reviewing Anthem, he was comparing Anthem to vanilla Destiny pretty much, and I think for a lot of people, when Destiny 1 failed at the very start, if you want to say it failed, they just didn't look at it again, and they just kind of wrote it off as that is what the game is. But when Year 3 happened, when Destiny 1 was at its peak, when we were proud as a player base, Destiny 1 at that moment, at that time period, was the dominant king in that type of gaming, in that type of game genre. And it was, people could say, I played Destiny, and they could be proud.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
Like literally, I told somebody, I told them that they asked me what do I play, and I said Destiny 2, and they were like, "Oh, is it an RPG?" And then my response was, "Kinda, yeah." And I really don't want to go too much into that. Like, I don't want to tell them about,
Yeah, I only talk about Destiny with the players that I play with, and that's you and the team. And I guess just to bounce off your point, I was watching a streamer He's not a big streamer, but he does know some pretty big people. I was watching his stream, right, and he was playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare. His favorite game is Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
That's fair enough.
He loves Warzone.
Yeah, it's a good game.
He thinks Warzone is the most amazing thing. Fair enough, right? I'm not gonna say
it's
he's
fun.
wrong.
It's fun.
One of his friends joined, and I posted a comment in his stream and said, "Hey, you should try Destiny 2." And his friend saw that and said to him, who I was watching, hey buddy, have you ever heard of Destiny 2? And then the guy who I was watching says, "No, I haven't." And then his friend replies and says to him, "If you do get into it, I would only ever play Destiny 2 if you have hours and hours of time. If you don't have those hours and hours of time, do not touch that game." And when he said that, it made me think, and I was like,
Yeah,
I'd agree.
I'd agree.
Exactly. Because that is Destiny 2.
But you know what? I'm not ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed.
Oh no,
of
not
that.
at all.
The last
Dude,
time we catered to casuals, we had Destiny 2 vanilla, and I know there might be somebody listening to this who's a casual, and you know what? I've got nothing against you as a casual. If you just want to play an hour a day, an hour a week, that's fine.
That's totally fine.
But at the end of the day, when you've played everything and you've had your fun and you've left, we're still here, and we're gonna have to redo everything that you did once, probably like 5, 10, 50 times. And what happens is, when we finally leave, then there's nobody playing the game, and then you don't get an expansion and you don't get a game.
Exactly, because we as the core players didn't continue. No, honestly, dude, I have no regrets with the hours that I put in, and plus it made it so rewarding.
I still have more hours in D1 in this game. I'm shocked by that.
I do. The only thing I will say, and I'll close this video off soon, just because
we've literally said everything we need to say. So
I do miss one thing, and that was so I don't know if you remember, but Whisper of the Worm, right? That was a quest.
When they nerfed that, by the way, I think that's the part before the lie quest. When they nerfed Whisper, that's the angriest I've ever been at Bungie. That's the angriest I've ever been.
Yeah, that's true. They did nerf that gun, but before that nerf came out, that quest that they released,
it was so good.
They didn't even make it public.
No,
did you know
they didn't.
That?
They didn't make it public.
It was a secret. It was a secret that the players found out, and it was like, and then when people found out about it, and they were, because keep in mind, the way you activate the quest is by completing a public event. So this portal has just come out from nowhere after the players had just played a public event.
And this was before Forsaken as well, so it was the old.
Yeah, this was. You know, I was like, whoa, what's this? This is something that you haven't said about. This isn't something. And then you go in, it's like, wow, this is an entire thing.
Yeah, it was so
that good. We knew nothing. I loved that feeling. It's like this thing that we found, and it gives you this awesome weapon. It's like, wow, they didn't tell us that. Like, we discovered this for ourselves. Like, it's just now we just don't have that. But
it kind of reminds me of I think my favorite time period of Destiny, and maybe this is nostalgia, is D1 vanilla, purely because of the fact we didn't know how many exotics were in the game. We didn't know which exotics were tied to a quest and which ones were not. Exotics, like I said earlier near the start of this, any exotic could get you to max light level for that piece of armor. And it was just like I remember doing a strike with a guy, and he had bad juju. And it didn't apparently bad juju back in the day wasn't the best in vanilla. But he had this really cool pulse rifle with bones on it, and there's green smoke coming off it. And I had no idea how to get that. And I was like, wow, what is that? And he was like, yeah, I never have to reload, and I get super energy really fast from it. I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah. Dude, I remember, like, my cousin got his first ever exotic in Destiny 1, which was the Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
And when he got his first ever exotic, he was so excited. He phoned up his friends and said, I got an exotic.
Yeah.
And, like, he was so proud. And as much as I love Destiny 2, and honestly...
That kind of feeling of mystery and actual excitement is kind of gone, yeah.
It's just not there. And I think it's partly to do with the fact that exotics just don't mean much anymore. The way they just give it to you now with the whole battle pass system. But
we'll see.
yeah,
We'll see. Hopefully
we'll see.
There's not really. I can't really. I mean, I don't think it's this season's fault.
No. We definitely can't blame that all on this season. But we'll see what happens. I hope they're prepping something big for the future.
Apparently they are.
I really hope. I want to look back at this podcast and just think to myself,
I
you know
want
what
this to be,
we said.
Like, if you told me right now, this is the lowest Destiny will ever get, I would be genuinely happy.
So was I. I'm hoping for the best. I'm still going to be playing this game. I love this game.
Yeah.
I want nothing but great things for them. These are just you know, things that just people care about.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like as definitely I would say the core players of Destiny, I feel like, you know, we're almost entitled to speak up a bit and have that voice, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully you guys made it this far. If
oh
you
my
did,
goodness.
I'd be very surprised.
Actually, like, if I don't know how long this thing is, but at the moment, but if it's super long, you could always just do it into parts. Because we kind of did it nicely in how we did it, like topic by topic.
Yeah, I'm gonna do timestamps actually in the description.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Just I'll upload it all in one, and then if people want to listen to a specific part, just because we did actually quite smartly actually do it in segments, they can just click on that timestamp and just go straight to it. I think I just do that.
Okay, that works. Yeah.
But yeah, guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video. I do oh god, I'm gonna have to edit that out. Actually, you know what? Fuck it, it's fine. This is a raw thing. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, guys. Please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below if you do play Destiny 2.
Yeah.
I'd be really, even if you're writing paragraphs, guys, I am super interested to see what you guys have to say on this. Ben, I just want to say thank you for your time.
No, I really enjoy this, and I just, like, if you are still listening to this, even if you've used timestamps or whatever, I just want to say a special thank you, because, like, I mean, I just know for myself, like, I've kind of already made it known that I'm big into the story and the lore and all that, and, like, there's a video that I've been recommended to see from My Name is Bife that I purely haven't seen simply because it's over 2 hours. So I can understand how much it can take to watch, you know, to just click on a large video. So if you've made it this far, I really do appreciate the fact that you've listened to us. And no, just thank you. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, Ben's channel will be linked in the description below. Definitely go and check that out.
If I haven't made so my channel's been on a hiatus for quite a while, and I'm trying to make a comeback. And if this video comes out and you check out my channel, if you don't see a recent video, do know that I am working on one, and in that video I hope to explain stuff like where I've been, why I haven't been uploading, why I'm back, and what I plan to do. So just keep your eyes out.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see sort of the stuff that you've got coming, actually, purely because of your knowledge and passion around the lore of Destiny 2. No, I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully we can see you back on this channel as well.
Yeah, oh man, if we ever do another podcast, or if you ever do another podcast, just let me know. I think it'd be great.
Nice, man. I mean, it might even be a good idea to do something like this live, just because people could ask questions during the actual live podcast, and we can interact with people at the same time of discussing things like this.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But yeah, guys, I'm going to close it off there. Leave a like if you enjoyed watching this video. Definitely hit that red subscribe button. Check out Ben's channel in the comment section below, and I'll see you in whichever video I next make. Take care, guys.
Take care, guys.